Chapter 5230. The dazzling light did not dissipate for a long time. Lung Shuang and tearing the sky were good. Hiding far away, Daojun Blood Moon, who was blocked by Wanxing, was covered in cold sweat behind him. He was just preparing to join the battle, and beside Hui Qing, if Wanxing hadn't stopped him, I'm afraid he will not be much different from Pojin's fate now. At that time, the broken army was injured. Even if the two of them went together, they would definitely not be Hui Qing's opponent. Wanxing Daojun's expression was also full of shock. He was too familiar with the breath that burst out from that finger just now. It was a top-notch jerk, much stronger than the he had cultivated. Is this the preference of the Temple of Fortune? Wanxing couldn't help but sucked in a cold breath. And he already had half the power of the Emperor in that blow. This is nothing. Everyone present, only Jian Wushuang knows. Hui Qing is only 9th rank. Rank 9 has half a step of the Emperor's strength. How terrifying this is. I am afraid that those 5th-order emperors were not so abnormal when they were in the 9th rank Dian Immortal. It's a monster. Jian Wushuang mastered the extreme Dao, and only after he became rank 9 did he barely reach the level of Dao Sovereign, and Hui Qing took a half-step directly to the Emperor. Originally thought that after entering the 9th rank, he would be able to get rid of all the same ranks, and truly be invincible at the same rank. But now it seems that he thinks too much. It is a fact that Hui Qing is stronger than him. The Dian Immortals on the periphery moved tens of thousands of miles at this time, and the strong light made them unable to see exactly what happened. The light faded, the aura of breaking the army was shattered, and the aura of the demon monk Hui Qing was still there. Broken army has fallen? Some people can't believe that a Taoist who ranked 2nd in the record list has fallen. How is this possible? The demon monk can actually kill Daojun. The sky is about to change. Everyone prepare to leave the Eclosion continent. The emerging continent is really going to change, and now Dao monarchs are in danger of losing their lives. Let alone those half-walking Dao monarchs. A 9 original star, record ranking. 1st, Demon Monk Hui Qing 2nd, Blood Moon Taoist 3rd, Lungshuang Daojun 4th, Swordsman of Heaven 5th, Wanxing Daojun Hui Qing wins the first prize. 10 billion record. Hui Qing sighed secretly in her heart. Originally, he planned to divide half of his record to Jian Wushuang, but Pujuan was unwilling to hand over the token. Brother Wushuang. Hui Qing put away her whole body. Her aura became gentler, and she leaped to Jian Wushuang's side. Brother Wushuang, thanks a lot this time. Jian Wushuang didn't care, shrugged and said flatly, "It has nothing to do with me. Even if I don't come, why don't they come to you? Not to mention the power of the ray of light just now, just relying on the combat power that can crush the army. Other Dao monarchs can't come to Hui Qing. As for the Wanxing Daojun, even if he is not an opponent, he can still escape. The reason why the broken army has reached such a point is that it was careless at the beginning, and it was absolutely foolproof. As a result, he lost his life and couldn't escape. The 5 great lords are not a group at first. They are all cruel figures who kill you when you are sick. This record." Hui Qing was a little embarrassed, holding her identity token a little embarrassed. Jian Wushuang saw his scruples, patted his shoulder heavily, jokingly said, "Why, less than a year, you have begun to pity me. Don't forget that you used to be a little novice with your legs. I to the point of relying on others to give alms to the rankings." Recalling that the weak little novice monk who had to hold his thighs when escaping is now so strong that Jian Wushuang is very emotional, really good luck. Those few of his masters can be stunned. Wanxing Daojun looked at Jian Wushuang, and Hui Qing frowned slightly. The relationship between the two was unusual. Otherwise Jian Wushuang would not directly attack Daojun without knowing anything. It seems to be the friend of life and death. This kind of person is much more reliable than the so-called allies, life and death acquaintances, fateful friendships, the kind who can give their backs to the opponent in battle. This dispute now seems to be the same. I am afraid it is not realistic to want to fight again. The trial is now worthy of the past 10 years, and it is not yet time for a big battle. Lung Shuang was injured, the strength of tearing the sky was not enough, and the moon's combat power was average. Hui Qing and him were the ones who could really fight on this primordial star. As for Jian Wushuang, Although the methods are weird, in the face of absolute strength, all sidelines are vulnerable to a single blow. Monk. Wan Xing's eyes turned to look at Hui Qing, with a sharp aura. Hui Qing turned and looked back, putting a smile on her face, as if she was facing an enemy. Wanqing. Jian Wushuang didn't panic at the back of his hands. His thought power was very strong, not to mention the half-step emperor. Even the emperor was not as good as him. He was able to sense that the Wanqing Daojun had war intent, but he had no determination. In this battle, the 8 achievements ended in the defeat of the army, and if the battle continued, it was a battle of spirits. Hui Qing was inherited and cultivated his utmost knowledge. They were willing to come over to be a sharpening stone. Hui Qing Mai would be a dead word if he didn't pass. But if he passed, he would be a carp leaping over the dragon gate. From then on, this primitive star is no longer threatening. The first throne is also extremely stable. No one can shake it. But other people don't have the powerful thought power of Jian Wushuang. And you can spy on others at any time. What they saw was that another world-destroying battle was about to take place, and they were now beginning to fear that these Taoists would suddenly come to sweep them, and they retreated tens of millions of miles away to keep a safe distance. Let's fight. You are all dead, and I am the number 1 Ji Chaoyang. Ji Chaoyang, who is second only to Daojun in strength, was very low-key in this battle, and had no idea of going up and taking part. He has inheritance and unique knowledge, and there is no shortage of treasures. In addition to his strength, he is very similar to God Emperor Malong. Long's strength is the ultimate emperor, but he can reach the level of a half-step Dao monarch, even comparable to that of a Dao monarch. No, I really want to fight. Everyone was squeezing sweat in their hearts, and their throats raised their hearts. If you really want to fight again, it will be good for them, and the strongest at the top will almost die, and they won't be the top. But there is also one thing they are afraid of. That is, no matter who wins or loses, the one who survives will become the strongest of this primordial star, without restraint and control, and wanton slaughter. They dare not imagine that scene. At that time, all ants under Dao sovereign, there is no level to be divided, they are all prey. Guru. Many people were watching their every move, as if they were about to grasp the moment they were doing it. The few at the core, except Jian Wushuang, all clenched their fists, and the sweat on their palms was enough to prove how nervous they were. Wanqing Daojun breath rises like a long dragon. Standing in the void is like the master of that void. This is a sign of stepping into the threshold of the origin of space. Jian Wushuang is also frightened when he sees it, the origin of space. Chapter 5231. That is the powerful source cultivated by the emperors. Look at it, it's time to do it. Many people on the periphery exclaimed, and couldn't help but retreat thousands of miles away. At this moment, everyone held their breath and stared at Daojun Wanqing. He raised his hand slightly, and the corners of his mouth opened slightly. Congratulations! Wanqing Daojun, with a smile on his serious face, clasped his fists in his hands. Ho ho ho! A rush of gasps could be heard through Jian Wushuang thousands of miles away. Gone! The faces of many powerful people turned red, and finally Wanqing Daojun actually uttered these 2 words. Even Lung Shuang and Dao Xiaotian took a deep breath, really wanting to fight, and really don't know who they are going to help. It's no good for her to help Wanqing, and it's no good to leave. Fighting at this level, and fishing in troubled waters are in danger of falling. It's best to end the game. The other Dao monarchs, even if they are reluctant, but now Wanqing, as a half-step emperor, has taken the initiative to try it out, and congratulated Hui Qing for getting the inheritance of the Temple of Qi. Ji Chaoyang, who had been watching from a distance, saw that after not fighting, he flew over without any fear. Haha, it's too late to come down. Seeing people coming, everyone looked at it together. Fortunately, Wanqing and the others knew the person in front of him, but it was the first time that Hui Qing saw him, and when he saw someone coming, he also leaked a hint of curiosity. Seeing that no one introduced him, Ji Chaoyang cheeked, coughed, and solemnly said, "Let me introduce my identity first. I am the Ji family dynasty, the first Taoist in the contemporary era, Ji Chaoyang." It's still so shameless. The Taoist Ripper frowned and said mockingly, this season Chaoyang's strength is not weak at all. Although he hasn't reached the level of Taoist monarchs, it is almost the same. Moreover, this guy is quite good at picking people, and has been pestering him, fighting and not running, as if he was a grindstone. Because of this, the master of the heaven-tearing heaven is extremely disgusted with this person. Jian Wushuang mobilized his thoughts and observed Ji Chaoyang. But he leaked a hint of smile. His face appeared a touch of playfulness, and he took the initiative to sign up for Jian Wushuang. Hui Qing. How could Ji Chaoyang think that these two peerless and ruthless people were so easy to talk? They started to speak familiarly. Brother Hui and Brother Wushuang are so powerful that they make Xia feel inferior. And I really admire Xia extremely. Life is in danger. Come and make friends with the two. I think you are just a piece of dogskin plaster. Catch who is sticking to who. Dao Tian Xuantian sneered unscrupulously. Ji Chaoyang's complexion changed, and he became angry. Tear the sky, what do you mean? It's fine to look down on the next. And even dared to turn around and curse Brother Hui and Brother Wushuang. Don't think you are a Taoist and I am afraid of you. I joined forces with Brother Hui Wushuang. And I can deal with you more than just rubbing. Daojun Wanqing frowned. He originally wanted to find out what kind of genius Hui Qing cultivated. But now he was disturbed by this stuff. So he didn't know how to speak. The Taoist swordsman standing on the side was even more so annoyed that he couldn't speak, pointing to Ji Chaoyang's face blushing. And he couldn't say a word. Jian Wushuang glanced at a few people, and finally stayed on Xia Tian and said coldly, forget it, I'll pass Hui Qing and I'll ignore the villain. Xia Tian will speak carefully next time. His eyes stared at Dao Shou Tian without any scruples, and his powerful thought power directly wrapped the opponent's body. That's it. No wonder tearing the sky watching him from time to time, and at first thought that this kid had a hobby of short sleeves, but there was another reason. With a trace of ancient aura, Jian Wushuang keenly sensed the familiar feeling in the opponent's body. Tier Tian's face was gloomy at this time. He didn't know whether Jian Wushuang was really angry, or he noticed something was wrong. No matter what the possibility, he didn't want to stay here anymore. Leave that thing where you are for a while, and I will take it back sooner or later. Dao Shou Tian secretly vowed in his heart. Even if you are seriously injured, you have to take it. He was afraid that Jian Wushuang had been following Hui Qing, so that he had no chance at all and had to leave now. Everyone, I'll say goodbye first, Dao Jun said in a low voice. His figure flashed back 10,000 miles, and then burst out with all his strength. But the breath disappeared into the void in an instant. Xue Yue and Lingshuang Daojun are also afraid that Wanqing and Hui Qing will conspire together, and they will bid farewell and leave. If they meet again, it is estimated that they will fight for life and death. As soon as these people left, Ji Chaoyang was also a little panicked, looking left and right. Now that anyone on the court can abuse him, especially Hui Qing, he can feel the intense silence. When encountering such an opponent, he will undoubtedly die. Unless you use the transfer order granted by your clan, you can escape. Hui Qing, I'm very curious why you were suddenly given the inheritance from the Temple of Qishan. Wanqing still spoke, but he knew that even if he knew these things, it was impossible to tell him, so he tactfully said, if it is inconvenient, don't speak. Hui Qing sighed lightly and said gravely, it's not that I don't want to say. I don't know why I suddenly accepted the inheritance of the Temple of Qishan. Daojun Wanqing nodded, looking at Hui Qing's eyes. He could feel that the other party did not seem to be lying. Of course, he could not rule out Hui Qing as a master of lying, and he blurted out the lie without missing the slightest. The flaws. Jian Wushuang, who was standing by, frowned. Wanqing was indeed asking too abruptly, and Hui Qing had a good temper. If it were him, a sword would go out and ask the sword. Based on his understanding of Hui Qing, what Hui Qing said just now was indeed not a lie. He was originally curious, but now that he knows it, he has fulfilled his curiosity. Inheritance, unique learning. Now Jian Wushuang has seen its power. No matter how strong his Tao is, he has no treasures and no powerful inheritance. His combat power will fall a lot. When Hui Qing accepted the inheritance, he was only a half-step prince, and now he was almost half-step an emperor. He is also rank 9, and he is at the level of Dao Sovereign if he hasn't cultivated his geniuses. If he cultivates his geniuses, he will be able to show up to 12% of his combat power. By then, his strength will also increase sharply, and he should not be weak. Yu Huiqing. Okay, since that's the case, I will also leave first. Wanqing Daojun always maintained a gentle posture. Although the initial problem was a little uncomfortable, Jian Wushuang was also impressed by him. The former Jiyu Daoist and now Wanqing. Jian Wushuang has seen the style of the top powerhouse in other worlds in the universe. The Dao monarchs left one after another on the field. Now Jian Wushuang, Huiqing and Ji Chaoyang are left. Jian Wushuang turned his eyes to each other and said, "Brother Ji, you are hiding enough." As soon as these words came out, Huiqing's expression was overwhelmed, and her breath rose sharply. Ji Chaoyang's complexion changed drastically, putting away the playfulness he had just now, and hurriedly backed away. But where can he retreat? The world of heart swords has already quietly arrived, and the powerful heart and sword intent have made Ji Chaoyang frightened. Chapter 52-32. He found that the moving order had been invalidated, but how active his mind was that he couldn't command the moving order. He was about to cry in a hurry now. What the is this? Huiqing watched for a long time, and found that Ji Chaoyang had been standing still, without the slightest aura of threat, looking at Jian Wushuang in doubt. "Huiqing, don't get too excited." Jian Wushuang pressed his hand, and then faintly said, "Brother Ji, don't get too excited. If you were to deal with you, you would have died 10,000 times earlier." He didn't scare the opponent by this, and he really wanted to use it to swallow the opponent. Within 10 moves he had information. If it was someone else with a solid record, he would really be a black hand. But Ji Chaoyang is not ordinary, because they are of the same kind. They are all 9-ranked Dayan immortals. Jian Wushuang had a direct showdown, telling the true state of Ji Chaoyang. As soon as this remark came out, Huiqing was shocked before he had time. Ji Chaoyang took a deep breath, covered his mouth with both hands, and screamed hard. "Are you an emperor?" Ji Chaoyang let go of his hand covering his mouth, and tremblingly raised his finger to Jian Wushuang. The transfer order and the Jinshin talisman. These are the innate top treasures given to him by his father, one for escape, and the other for hiding power. His father once told him that the Jinshin talisman can hide his breath and strength, and the biggest use is to hide his realm. Even the emperor can hardly see his true realm. Now Jian Wushuang saw it through. He admired his father very much, and he was a very firm believer. Can see his true state, then only the emperor. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded by his action. "I am not an emperor, but I have a treasure that can see the true state of the other party. It is a bit tasteless, but it comes in handy here." The Nineth-ranked Dayan immortal, but he has the strength of a half-trouble monarch. Brother Ji is extremely talented, admire it. Huiqing's eyes beamed, and he shouted admiration. Jian Wushuang also said, "Could it be that Brother Ji is the ultimate existence?" After confirming that the two were not malicious to him, Ji Chaoyang let out a sigh of relief, and soon turned into that kind of cynical gesture. "Haha, Brother Wushuang has a good eye. It is indeed the 9th-ranked Dayan immortal. That is an ordinary ultimate way, and it is not the two brothers for the time being." Ji Chaoyang coughed a few times, and was humble. Jian Wushuang showed surprise on the surface, but he was funny in his heart. "If it's so predestined, why don't we talk? Then it's better to be respectful." Ji Chaoyang also wanted to make friends with strong men like Jian Wushuang and Huiqing, and did not refuse. If the two wanted to deal with him, he had indeed been several times earlier, so it would be better to take the opportunity to win him, and have a backer. He currently has a long way to go to the 9th rank to achieve consummation, and he also needs a strong ally. As the three left together, there was no one on this battlefield, and the silence was restored. Hiss! The space split, and a huge castle fell from the sky, slamming heavily on the ground. Said it is a castle, in fact it is more like a city. It has a length and width of tens of thousands of miles, and it is the size of some mundane planets. The fortress fell, and the messenger of the Vermilion Bird Palace escaped from a crystal-clear white crystal ball, and threw it into the castle. Then her figure disappeared, and she went to the next primitive star. And Jeju primitive star trembles at this moment. The war has just ended, and a new storm will soon be set off. The white orb fell into the castle, and a sky pillar burst out, leading directly to the barrier at the highest point in the void. After touching the Tianju, the enchantment of the entire primordial star made a crackling sound. Such a big movement caused all the Dian immortals on the primordial star to rise and go straight into the void. The hundreds of thousands of Dian immortals who were still alive looked at the enchantment exuding the lightning silver snake and couldn't help but gasp. What are you doing? Everyone issues questions at the same time. What are you doing at the Temple of Qishan? I just found a cave, and before I had time to communicate the ultimate way, I was disturbed by this movement. Jian Wushuang and the three of them leaped into the air one after another, and the powerful aura directly radiated out without hesitation. After all, one of the strongest players of this primitive star right now is that Jian Wushuang is at the level of Dao Sovereign, and even Ji Chaoyang can be comparable to Dao Sovereign. The three of them walked sideways on the primordial star, and none of them could threaten them. Who is so courageous dare to disturb a few of our brothers? I want to see who is so courageous. The treasure Ji Chaoyang uses is a sword that opens the sky, and the light blue breath surrounds the sword. He directly carried on his shoulders, stood swaggering in the void and roared. Hui Qing was as calm as ever, looking up at that level of enchantment. Disturbed. A strong sense of anxiety made Jian Wushuang very uncomfortable. What kind of trick is this Temple of Fortune playing? Didn't it say that it's been a trial for 30 years? Is this a remorse? Don't look down on them like these people. Want to drive them out? Wouldn't it be so stingy? This is also to blame for the original guardian, who left the token and left. Because of the short words of token, there are only 300,000 to 500,000 Dian immortals left. What are you going to do now? Jian Wushuang's thoughts spread out, and he scanned the surroundings for thousands of miles. At the same time, the Dian immortal in the mountains also broke out of the sky. No matter how strong it was not hiding. Divine Emperor Mo Long, who had been hidden for a long time, also broke ground. Although all the treasures were lost, his perfect flesh and powerful divine body were still there. In the past 2 years, he had regained most of his strength by virtue of his strong background. This call? It comes from the Eclosion continent. Mo Long hesitated in his heart. Now he is a useless man, a savage without an identity token. Do you want to go? There may be a silver lining to go, and there is nothing if you don't go. Mo Long snorted coldly. An ordinary 9-ranked perfect Dian immortal actually dared to fly in front of him. Grab him casually. When I asked, I realized that something really happened in Yuhua continent. Countless powerhouses are flying in the direction of the Eclosion continent, and Mo Long has also joined them. Some of the top Dian immortals who had just left the emerging continent, and even the pinnacle Dian immortal, also changed their directions and returned to the emerging continent. All this is not only the call, but also the change in the identity token. On Jian Wushuang's side, he took out the token at random and looked at the change above. His eyes trembled. Primal Star. The first stage of the highest trial is completed. Finally ranked 21st. Trial, Jian Wushuang. Record conversion, 1,000 treasure points. Is it 1,000? This is not the key. What is more serious is the final ranking. He has the heart to die. In the past he didn't care too much, but now that Hui Qing is so strong after getting a quake, how can he be willing to rank so low? Obviously have the strength to enter the top 10, or even the top 3. Now everything is back to 0, and the ranking is solidified. Chapter 5233. Too big. Jian Wushuang's heart was bleeding. The Temple of Qishan, the 10th year of the highest trial of Dian Immortal, is also the 10th year of the advent of the new era. The Primal Star trial opens the second phase. The call in the dark made them unable to take care of so much, so they could only gather towards the guiding place. Jian Wushuang also put away the token, looked at the center of Yuhua continent with a heavy expression, and said solemnly, "You have also sensed it?" Hui Qing and Ji Chaoyang nodded at the same time. Then go and see what tricks the Temple of Qishan is playing again. Boom! The three of them exploded at the same time and hurried to the place where they were directed. On the road, the Peak Dian Immortal, or the Extreme Dian Immortal, all marched towards that position in unison. Jian Wushuang and others were very close to that location. Only an hour's journey away, they saw the magnificent city that appeared out of thin air. At this time, many strong people have gathered here. They just arrived, and they attracted everyone's attention. After all, Huiqing is now one of the strongest in this primitive star, and everyone has already reclassified them. Huiqing didn't compare much, forcibly killed the second-ranked Pujuan, ranked first in record, and had been secretly called the half-step emperor. The same is true for Wanqing. He used to be Wanqing Daojun, but now Wanqing Heavenly Emperor. The two powerhouses are the only ones on this primitive star. After that, Jian Wushuang and Shuiwe were powerhouses at the Taoist level. But seeing that Ji Chaoyang was now following Jian Wushuang and Huiqing, they also assigned Ji Chaoyang to the Taoist level. This breath. Jian Wushuang looked at the heavy breath of the city. This is the heavy lifelessness in the ancients. He is very familiar with it. The three came under the gate of the giant city, looking at the city surrounded by mist. Qiu Huangcheng. Jian Wushuang looked at the memorial arch on the city gate and muttered silently. The font is naturally ancient characters, but the primordial star universe has recorded such characters. As a strong Dian Immortal, Jian Wushuang can deduce and comprehend ancient language with just a glance. It's just that these three words give him the feeling that it is too old, and even has a feeling of looking through time and space. The breath of just three words makes people throb. The emperor did not have such a majestic momentum when he visited in person. Brother Wushuang, don't look at it too much. The power of these three words is beyond our cognition. The rules are messy and interfere with the mind. Huiqing just glanced at it, then lowered her eyebrows, and quickly reminded Jian Wushuang. Indeed, as Huiqing said, there are too many things wrapped in these three ancient texts, and it is indeed not to be seen more. I am afraid that only the emperor can understand the rules contained therein. However, Jian Wushuang's state of mind was so powerful that he had already reached the 4th level, and this little interference could not affect him. It's okay, anyway, we'll go in and explore, Jian Wushuang said casually. Since the city suddenly appeared here, it must have some contact with them. It is impossible for them to create a city for them to watch. Look at the city wall. Ji Chaoyang couldn't help exclaiming. Point to the traces of depressions in the ravines on the wall. Jian Wushuang also turned his eyes to look, and when he saw the bottomless gullies, the corners of his eyes shook. It's Jian Mark. At this time, more and more Dian Immortals arrived outside the city, and they all went to the city gate to watch them first, and then went to study the sword marks that ran through the ravines. Jian Wushuang sat down cross-legged, carefully comprehending the thick sword marks, and even a trace of sword intent remained deep in the marks. Although these sword intents are very inconspicuous, Jian Wushuang, who is also a great swordsman, looks carefully. Twilight strand by strand. The sword intent is very ordinary, but even if it fades to this now, these sword intents still contain a kind of Tao. Jian Wushuang took a breath. According to his strength, a sword cannot leave anything in Qiuhuang City, let alone make every trace of sword meaning contain Tao. The difference between him and that kendo master is not even a star. Is the emperor so strong? Jian Wushuang began to doubt life. He has also seen a lot of emperors and strong men, and he still knows a little about emperors. But the Tao contained in the sword intent of this powerful kendo is too powerful. If his current ultimate path is just a piece of grass, then the powerful path of this kendo is like a whole forest. I originally thought that even if I was not a half-step emperor, he would soon touch the emperor level. But now it seems that the difference is too much. In other words, this emperor is much stronger than the emperor he has seen. With a movement of Jian Wushuang's thoughts, it turned into an illusory arm and slowly approached the sword mark, gently stroking, feeling the sword intent more closely. Outside Qiuhuang City, there were barriers and the Dian Immortals couldn't get close at all, and Jian Wushuang could only use his powerful thoughts to penetrate the barriers before they could touch them. The ultimate sword Dao has now reached the 6th level, and it is still related to the heart sword. Although the dual strength avenue is more powerful, he wants to get rid of the intrusion of external forces and create the purest kendo. The mental power originally played the role of assistance, but now, at the 5th level of the ultimate kendo, the world of heart swords is realized, and the 6th level is the heart sword test. Now his kendo is too complicated, is not pure enough. He needs to transcend himself, get rid of the dominance of his mental strength, and realign his kendo. That's sword intent. So he is very eager to see how the emperor-level swordsmanship is different, and what is contained in it, to help him confuse the emperor-level swordsmanship. Just as Nianli entered the gully, it was met with strong resistance. This strength comes from that trace of sword intent. Jian Wushuang's heart was horizontal, and his whole body was concentrated, turning into a dexterous little hand, constantly grabbing towards that trace of sword intent. Starve to death the timid, support the daring to death. Jian Wushuang was going to grab that trace of sword intent with his thoughts. This was too important to him. Countless powerful people around are copying the various traces on the city wall, which has already benefited them a lot. If they can capture a trace of the emperor's way, it will be a great opportunity. Almost. The illusory arm that Nianli turned into was only a short distance away. But even at this distance, no matter how hard he increased the intensity of his thought power, he couldn't catch that hint of sword intent. The mobilization of the whole Bodhi's mind power made Jian Wushuang sweat all over his head. Hui Qing and Ji Chaoyang also noticed the movement on his side. They wanted to inquire but were afraid to interfere with Jian Wushuang, so they could only stand by his side and guard against other people's interference. Jian Wushuang devoted himself wholeheartedly, his eyes closed tightly. Damn it, this distance can't be crossed at all. Jian Wushuang felt that he was being tricked, giving him hope, and making him unable to do it. The closer he felt the hint of sword intent, the more he yearned for it. This strand of sword intent gave him the feeling he thought was the purest Tao. As long as he could capture it, and then swallow it with thought power, he would be able to obtain the kendo contained in that pure sword intent. Chapter 52-34. Call. Jian Wushuang was about to give up. There were too many people here, and he didn't dare to make much movement. But when he was about to put away his thought power, that ray of sword intent came out actively. Jian Wushuang was ecstatic, and he quickly wrapped it carefully with thought power, enduring the encroachment of the sword intent. Fortunately, what he was practicing was the ultimate kendo. Although he still rejected it, he was able to resist it. But Jian Wushuang didn't dare to look down upon this ray of sword intent. Don't look at it as a trace, but he was still rubbing it. Wrap carefully, and step by step withdrawing from the gully. After the unreal arm got out of the gully, it was obvious that the trace of sword intent was weakening. Jian Wushuang couldn't control anything else, and immediately swallowed it. Illusory arm, spreading 5 fingers, swallowing that strand of sword intent. All of this is done in the barrier, so people outside can't find it at all. It was obvious that after the ultimate kendo gained a point, Jian Wushuang slowly opened his eyes. The original kendo in the sword intent, he instantly grasped. After all, it was already integrated. Prison cage. Jian Wushuang trembled slightly, evaporating the sweat on his body. This is what he learned from that ray of sword intent. It's a pity that there are too few. If there is more, then his ultimate kendo may really break through. He took a deep breath, and found that Hui Qing and Ji Chaoyang were around him when he wanted to get up. Brother Wushuang, did you find something? Ji Chaoyang asked curiously. Like other people, they can only comprehend some of the gaps that are more compatible with them, but they have very little insight from them. They can only be regarded as a rare sacred place for cultivation, which can be hundreds of times stronger than the outside world. It's just that they can't stay in this primordial star for long. They can only scan a little bit and look at all the gullies. The amount of goods they receive depends on their ability. It is not the time to retreat here. There are some small gains. This gully is a great help for me from a kendo master. Jian Wushuang nodded. Although he didn't tell the truth, He didn't say anything wrong. This is indeed a sword mark left by a sword master. And the harvest is indeed good, at least helping him find the direction of breakthrough. Ji Chaoyang was a little disappointed. He originally thought Jian Wushuang had discovered something, but now it seems to be no different from others. On the second day after arriving here, the 10,000-star Heavenly Emperor also descended outside Qiuhuang's city. Like them, the Emperor Wenqing first glanced at the memorial arch on the city gate, then took a lap, and found a place to sit cross-legged and comprehend the traces on the city wall. When sitting cross-legged, he also glanced at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang studied Kendo attentively and ignored it, but Ji Chaoyang shrank his neck and hid behind Hui Qing. Goodness! Hui Qing understood the 10,000-star Heavenly Emperor's war intentions, that sooner or later he would not be able to escape. Fortunately, the opponent also knows that now is not the time to go to war. Everything in the outside world can't interfere with Jian Wushuang's obsession with Kendo. In the source, his avatar sits cross-legged in the ocean of the source, devoting himself to practicing. No, this road will not work. The villain with Jian Wushuang's appearance shook his head. He had already played tens of thousands of swords, but he still couldn't find a way to break through. The origin path has a qualitative change every 3 layers, and the difficulty of entering the 7th layer now is countless times more difficult than the previous breakthroughs. The previous 2 breakthroughs were all because of mental strength, and he broke through by letting the flow go. Now getting rid of mental strength to break through is no different from climbing to the sky. It's too difficult. You can't even find a clue. Countless thoughts rose in his mind. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed a bright light, and the thoughts in his mind when his eyes were opened immediately disappeared. He has been entangled with the sword intent and that sword mark. There are so many marks on this city wall. Maybe there are sword marks. There should be sword intent in this sword mark, and there should be other sword marks. Snapped. Jian Wushuang snapped to his feet, very fast, and immediately flew towards other areas. Sure enough, there are other sword marks. I was too excited just now and forgot about it. Like last time, his mind power turned into an illusory arm, entered the enchantment to touch the sword mark, and finally entered the depths of the sword mark to search for the sword intent. Now in his Kendo origin, there is a trace of sword intent origin, those remaining sword intent. When encountering Jian Wushuang's illusory arm, he thought it was the same kind, so he took the initiative to come by. This made Jian Wushuang overjoyed, and he obtained a trace of the origin of sword intent without any effort. He was not in a hurry to enlighten, but wandered in front of the ravines to collect the origin of sword intent. The city of Qiuhuang, which is tens of thousands of miles long and wide, has a city wall that stretches for tens of thousands of miles. There are hundreds of millions of dense gullies on it, and there are hundreds of thousands of sword marks alone. Fortunately, the more sources of sword intent he swallowed, the easier it was to collect them. So he began to walk around Qiuhuangqing to find the source of sword intent step by step. His move was quickly discovered by other powerhouses. After all, Jian Wushuang is now a man of the world, a powerhouse at the Taoist level, and every move will make others pay attention. At first, they also quietly followed Jian Wushuang, carefully observing the place where Jian Wushuang stopped to see www.novel.com. They found that they were all traces of Kendo, which was of no use to them. Even the Dayan Immortal, who practiced the roots of Kendo, didn't notice that there was something wrong. Soon these people dispersed, leaving Jian Wushuang alone to sweep the sword marks. It took 1 day, 2 days, and until a month later that Jian Wushuang had wiped out all the sword marks. This time I made a lot of money. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, and his eyes lit up. The origin of a million Dao sword intent, once condensed, is no less than a complete Dao. Jian Wushuang randomly found an open space and sat cross-legged. Millions of sword intent rose in the sea of his origin. Jian Wushuang turned into a villain standing in it, shouting, "Hey!" Numerous Kendo origins that had been swallowed began to fuse. The powerful sword intent made Jian Wushuang ecstatic. It's a sword. The origin of the sword intent finally condensed an illusory long sword. Jian Wushuang's heart moved, and from this illusory long sword, he saw a figure in white clothes Xingxue. The ancient breath leaned from his body, and Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. The figure in between was holding a sword, and was also outside a big city. According to Jian Wushuang's speculation, it should be Qiu Huangcheng. Wow! The sword in white robes with a sword, but there is no sharpness in the sword intent. No sharp means of breaking everything. But it fell in Qiu Huang city, but it turned into a cage, and the sword light turned into a ball. Wrapped by Jian Wushuang looked carefully, and found that the move was not that simple. A sword wrapped the entire Qiu Huang city, which seemed unrelenting, but in fact, billions of sword lights erupted inside, destroying Qiu Huang city in an instant. And the figure in white didn't even look at the city. His figure turned into a stream of light, and disappeared instantly. Chapter 5235. Jian Wushuang was shocked by this short picture. It was just a sword that caused the ancient city of Qiu Huangcheng to fall away, and the powerful kendo master left without even looking at it. Jian Wushuang wasn't interested in the reason for it. He was calling for that sword even more now. The illusory longsword only evolved once, and then began to collapse. Jian Wushuang absorbed the powerful kendo origin, and eventually a large part of it entered his ultimate kendo, and he had no choice but to swallow a large part. He can only swallow about 20% of the origin of those dying immortals. This is the sword power of that swordsman power. Even if the origin contained in it is very rare, a part of it has been lost after so many years. Now he can still observe that again. One sword is already pretty good. Prison cage. Jian Wushuang frowned. The sword of this kendo power is very similar to his heart sword world. But the world of the heart sword is not full. It is more like a piece of paper. And the sword of the kendo power is more like a paper rubbing into a sphere. Jian Wushuang has a clue, but it is far from enough to make a breakthrough. But this time the receipt has already satisfied him very much. His figure turned, and he came to Huiqing and the others. It has been a month now. Qiu Huangcheng still didn't use a trace of movement, and they all began to be a little impatient. Fortunately, the ranking has been fixed, and now no one will actively provoke a fight. This place is also very suitable for cultivation. They are a little greedy for this big city when they wait. The traces of battle on the city wall alone were enough to benefit them a lot. Wouldn't there be more benefits in there? Qiu Huangcheng was like a tempting piece of fat, and the saliva of these hungry wolves was about to flow out. But they just couldn't eat this piece of meat. Jian Wushuang fell down and glanced around. This is the gate of the city. Most of the strong are here to comprehend. They also think that if the gate suddenly opens, they will be the first to enter. There are almost 400,000 cultivators here. Jian Wushuang glanced at the crowd and said lightly. Ji Chaoyang was also lazy to comprehend the traces on the city wall. He was very confident in his ultimate way. The battle traces left by these strong men were absolutely the same. After just a few glances, he waited boringly here. Now that Jian Wushuang came back, he leaked a smile. Brother Wushuang, be surprised. I didn't expect that there would be so many tortoises with shrunken heads. I thought there were only 100,000 people at most. Ji Chaoyang looked at those people very disdainful. Jian Wushuang gave a faint smile, and didn't say much. When Ji Chaoyang first came to Primordial Star, he was estimated to have half the power of the Taoist king. He had no idea how difficult it was for the weak. He also fought with Huiqing in the mountains, designing traps to kill those dying immortals. At that time, they also had the power of the peak dying immortal, and in the end they grew up in battle, slaying the limit dying immortal, and defeating the Emperor Malong. After entering the Eclosion continent, he broke the cocoon, and became a dish. Wait! It should be waiting for everyone. Jian Wushuang guessed. Qiu Huangcheng will be opened sooner or later, and it is estimated that there will be a time limit. Anyway, they are not waiting here in vain. Isn't there still those powerful battle traces for them to comprehend? The existence that can leave marks on this city wall is at least the strongest among the emperors. Especially the sword in white. Jian Wushuang's eyes were full of yearning. Powerful. Once the heart of the strong is planted, it can never stop. The white swordsman power left a strong stroke in Jian Wushuang's heart, and he broke the city with a single sword. Then the other traces must have been left by a strong man, who was weaker than the white sword god. However, no matter how weak they are countless times stronger than them. While they were still waiting quietly, outside of the Yuhua continent, it was already difficult to see the cultivators. In a month's time, even if the 9th-ranked Dian Immortal drove with all his strength, he would almost reach the Yuhua continent. At this time, the sense of summoning is so strong, and there are still people who are unwilling to come. It is estimated that they are also completely hopeless. Darkness struck from the void, but in an instant it covered the mountains, and then spread to the Eclosion continent. Those Dian Immortals who hadn't come to the Eclosure continent could not sit still anymore, and they walked out of the cave and soared into the air. What is this? A 9th-turn perfect Dian Immortal looked at the covered darkness, shaking in his heart. Danger! A strong crisis came as soon as it was said. They didn't even have the heart to resist, and they all fled desperately. This scene is constantly being staged in other primordial stars. Inside the Suzuka Temple, a month is too short. Zhu Yi carried her hands behind her back and looked at a piece of the sky below the main hall. All the movements of the primitive stars were happening above. She calmly said, "It's not short, their time is precious. It has been wasted a month now. In a month's time, even if the speed is slow, I can reach the mainland. For such a long time, regardless of the call, I just want to sit down and shrink my head, a cowardly move." Zhu Yi hates iron but not steel. The inheritance from this trial is extremely precious, and now I am giving them benefits. I don't cherish it, and I can't blame her for being cruel. She has given enough tips. If it is the old man of the spirit guard, it is estimated that he will not even leave the summoning crystal, so he will run away after passing down the inheritance. Inheritance is not for nothing. It's just an appetizer to test their ambitions. If they don't have this ambition, the Temple of Qixin will not feed idlers. Those who have come outside Qiuhuang City now haven't noticed any problems. They don't know it yet, they have passed the first level. The darkness struck, and those Dian Immortals who were in the darkness flee desperately, trying to rush out. Click. A Dian Immortal was broken by his waist, donating blood and spilling. In the darkness, a pair of scarlet eyes leaked out. Jia. The day that was killed, not only the body was eaten away, but even the original Dao was swallowed cleanly by these monsters. If Jian Wushuang saw them, I'm afraid he would call his own expert. And the complete Dao of a Dian Immortal was actually swallowed. It's clean and there is no waste. On swallowing, they are seniors. The darkness continued to expand, enveloping 90% of the area of the primordial star. And finally the source of darkness converged on the edge of the feathered continent and began to march. The rate of spread this time was a bit slow, but it was also several times faster than Dianxian, and it only took a quarter of an hour to reach Qiuhuangqing. The Optimus pillar in Qiuhuang City shook, and a burst of hot light burst, as if shattered the barrier in the sky. 400,000 practitioners outside the city stood up and looked up. Crackling, the entire city shook, and finally the barrier that encased the city was shattered and turned into electric snakes swimming over Qiuhuang City. Chapter 5236. Such a huge change made everyone react in an instant, especially those Dian Immortals who had been waiting outside the city gate from the beginning. They plunged into it as soon as the barrier was broken. Jian Wushuang frowned as he watched. What do these people think? Think of the Temple of Qixin as something. You don't really think that whoever enters has an advantage. Those who are not afraid of death have the cowardice. Those half-travel monarchs who had confidence in their own strength entered Qiuhuang City calmly. And Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing began to enter one after another. This is a recognition of your own strength. Even if you can get the treasure if you go in first, I can grab it. The city gate is very wide, thousands of miles long and wide. It was enough for them and the Dian Immortals to enter together. But some people hesitated and wanted to enter at last. Whether it was for the purpose of picking up leaks, or holding the mentality of being a cannon fodder, who entered in front. These people did not panic at all. In just one cup of tea, all 400,000 Dian immortals had entered Qiuhuang City, and there were 1,000 people left looking around, planning to wait. But at this moment, the gate of Wanli suddenly closed. Sure enough, this city is really strange. A rank 9 Dian immortal exhaled deeply, as if he had just escaped a catastrophe. Haha, even if you don't go in, whether it's good or bad, I can at least look at the traces left by these emperors on the outside of the city. The other Dian immortals also nodded. They were not good at first, and they probably didn't have much chance to go in, so they might as well just practice outside the city. It's over. Inside Qiuhuang City, just after they entered the city, they were teleported to the wall. At this time, a Dian fairy stared at the people outside the city and said with a trembling voice, "They're done." Jian Wushuang stood on the city wall, looking across the entire feathered continent, but the people outside the city couldn't see him. He could see any place outside the city, especially the darkness spreading from far away. Jiejia, a million miles away from Qiuhuang City, the darkness suddenly stopped spreading, but after it stopped, countless dark ghosts and demons suddenly rushed out. These ghosts are not like the ghosts after the emperor's fall in the great wilderness. Jian Wushuang can clearly see that they are wise. Moreover, the strength of these ghosts and demons is at the rank 9 level at the lowest level, even the strong ones at the Taoist level. Only then did the thousands of people outside the city react, but they could enter Qiuhuang City no matter what. Temple of the Gods, enlighten me. These people are all cowardly people, and even the challenger's heart is not just thinking about entering Qiuhuang City to escape. Dead. The assault of death fell in an instant. A million li was only an instant of time. 1,000 people were no more than rubble, and they were shattered in an instant, and even a single wave could not be stirred. They can't get in. Jian Wushuang pressed his hand, and the retreating Dian immortals dared to approach the city head and look down. Sure enough, those ghosts and demons just wandered outside the city wall with their bodies surging. They had no intention of attacking Qiuhuangqing at all. This made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. The ghosts outside the city were wandering, and there was a tremor in the city. Everyone stood on the city wall and descended into the city. Only then did Jian Wushuang notice the appearance of the entire city. The entire Qiuhuang City is divided into 4 areas, and they are in the East City. Jian Wushuang glanced at the number of people on the wall. It was about 100,000, which also showed that the others were on the other 3 walls. The wall he was assigned to was the same wall they came in. Other scenes outside the wall can be seen here, but it is certain that it should not be much different from this side. This trial is a bit interesting. Ghosts gather outside the city, and the Temple of Qishan will not let them guard this city, right? Jian Wushuang secretly guessed. As far as the number of ghosts and demons outside the East City is counted in hundreds of millions, there are 7 or 8 of them that are as powerful as Daojun, and there are no less than 100 at the half-step Daojun level. Looking at these people on the wall, Jian Wushuang shook his head. After 10 years of trial of Primordial Star, there were no more than 10,000 elites who survived, and the rest were Dian immortals who were weak in strength and hid in the mountains from the beginning. Most of them were ordinary 9th rank perfect Dian immortals. There are even more than 10,000 rank 9 Dian immortals. There are only 1,000 people in the top level of Dian immortal, and there are fewer at the peak level, less than 100 people. There are only a dozen extreme Dian immortals. The half-walking monarchs were also wrapped in it. As for the powerhouse at the Taoist level, Jian Wushuang turned his head and looked far away. Another powerhouse standing on the city wall, Tier Heaven Daojun. There are 2 powerhouses at the Taoist level in Dongcheng, which are pretty good. On the entire Primordial Star, even if Ji Chaoyang is added, there are only 7 Dao monarchs. Maybe Huiqing and Wanqing Tiandi will each guard a city wall. Jian Wushuang guessed in his heart. After all, the strength of Huiqing and Wanqing surpassed them too much. The remaining city wall is probably Blood Moon, Lung Shuang and Ji Chaoyang. The strength of these 3 people is actually not too strong. Jian Wushuang is confident to defeat anyone, so it is reasonable to divide the 3 of them into a city wall. After verifying that he could not go to other city walls, Jian Wushuang began to calculate the battle power on other city walls. He had to take precautions, because this time there is really a danger of death. Ding. There was a crisp sound, and a deep gasp came from the Tianju in the city. Jiajia Primitive Star, the second phase of the inheritance trial, will start in 3 days. The sound is like a puppet, without emotion at all. Inheritance trial. That has heritage. Jian Wushuang scanned the surroundings and looked at the foggy city, let alone inheritance. He didn't even have a brick. Receive the identity token now. As soon as these words came out, those Daanxians who had lost their identity tokens leaked out of joy. And for a while they were not afraid of the ghosts and charms of the outside world. Especially God Emperor Mo Long. As soon as he came out of the mountain, he learned that Jian Wushuang and the little bald donkey had the power of Dao Sovereign when he was studying the traces of those battles outside the city. After hearing this news, the Emperor Mo Long's heart was cold, originally thinking of turning over. Now there is no chance at all, unless he becomes the emperor. It is enough for him to be able to regain his identity token now. What if he loses those treasures? After he goes out, he asks his father for it. And can he not give it to him? Back in his own world, he is still the emperor. Of course, if you can get some treasures in the temple of Qishan, it is the best. Jian Wushuang reached out and took the token flying from the Tianju. A little bit of strength was injected, and the token was instantly activated. He also saw the rules of this trial from the token. Temple of Qishan, the highest trial of Dian Immortal. The second stage of Primordial Star, Inheritance Trial. Jian Wushuang glanced at the above content, and couldn't help but breathe in a cold breath. There are actually 10,000 inheritances in Qiuhuang City. What a wealth of wealth! Jian Wushuang looked at Qiuhuang City with scorching eyes. Chapter 5237. But these inheritances are not given to them for free. Everything is still based on strength. And the stronger the strength, the stronger the inheritance. The 10,000 inheritances in the city can't be the kind of powerful inheritance that Huiqing accepts. There are strong and weak points. From top to bottom, they are the inheritance of unique knowledge such as A, B, C, and D. Huiqing once said that the inheritance he received is unique. And it seems that it is not the same as these inheritances. Because these inheritances are all simplified versions. There are 100 copies of the first-class inheritance, and these 100 copies are the same content. Jian Wushuang was discouraged seeing this. If it were not the best match for him, he would rather not practice. It would be too wasteful of treasures and energy, and the estimate that could be improved was limited. If he is lucky, this first-class inheritance happens to be the Kendo inheritance, it would be best. But this chance is too small. Jian Wushuang can't even think about it. According to his calculations, this inheritance is probably a more popular inheritance, allowing all the origins of the genre to be cultivated. This is to maximize everyone's combat effectiveness. Class A has 100 copies. Class B has 1,000 copies. Handle has 3,900 copies. And the remaining 6,000 shares are all inherited from Ding class. Except Jian Wushuang. Everyone became excited. Looking at the ghosts outside the city, the light in their eyes was even more terrifying than those with scarlet eyes outside the city. It is also mentioned in the rules that these ghosts are indeed similar to those of Emperor Diyun. But these ghosts have another name. Forbidden Demon Lord. Also known as the Devouring Demon Lord, Jian Wushuang's heart moved and swallowed? Could it be? The more he thought about it, the more he was afraid. Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered. If it is really as he thought, then there will be no place for him to stand in this temple of Forbidden God. But thinking about it again, he is still fine now. And there are a lot of Dian immortals that have been swallowed, but the temple of Forbidding has not done anything to him. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang was relieved. Keep watching the rules. Inheritance trials and inheritance of the first-class inheritance requires 100,000 treasure points. Class B needs 10,000. It takes 1,000 for the handle to wait. Ding needs 100. Jian Wushuang still agrees with this point, knowing that he only got 1,000 points of treasure when he ranked 21st, and Huiqing only got 100,000 first. He didn't know how the Temple of Qishan was converted, but now on the entire primordial star, it is estimated that only Hui Qing can exchange Class A inheritance. But he just finished accepting the unique inheritance reincarnation. It is estimated that he will not be so stupid to accept the first-class inheritance directly. Be aware that in addition to inheritance, there are treasures that can be exchanged. On the identity tokens, a dazzling array. To exchange treasures, you need to enter the city lord's mansion in the city. According to Jian Wushuang's conversion, almost a treasure point is a pinnacle treasure. The legacy of Qishan Temple is a great treasure in itself. I'm afraid they won't keep the general treasures either. What can make Qishan Temple collect is a special treasure, and there are even mini treasure suits. Jian Wushuang has 1,000 treasures. Wouldn't it be possible to exchange 1,000? Looking down, Jian Wushuang quickly dispelled the stupid idea. Because there are innate treasures and even eternal treasures. Bafang Yunlong Seal. The simplified version of the eternal treasure. The emperor can almost stimulate all the power, and it needs 1,000,000 treasure points. Print it. Forget it, it's uncomfortable. Although it is only a simplified version of the eternal treasure, its power also surpasses the innate treasure by much. If he can get it, Jian Wushuang still decides to exchange this treasure first. He had heard that the entire primitive universe was an eternal treasure, a powerful treasure that even the ultimate emperor did not have. Jian Wushuang looked greedy, but he still looked for a divine sword that suits him. Since the Great Wilderness War and the fall of the sword, he has not had a weapon to take advantage of. The divine sword obtained from the divine emperor Emolong can actually be used, but his strength has recently improved too fast, and the supreme long sword was quickly eliminated. Fighting against a powerful person at the Taoist level, ordinary treasures, even peak treasures may break in the fight. The innate treasure is their magic weapon. For example, he wears the madman slaying armor. This innate top treasure armor, which was obtained from Emolong, is extremely powerful. Even now he can't activate all the powers. During the battle with Daojun Lingshuang, he used to resist the ice toughness of the ice crystal phoenix. If there is no madness to destroy the armor, he will be the least seriously injured. But because of the battle armor, the strength of the ice blade is weakened by 99%. The last trace of strength on him was also offset by the inner armor. Now Jian Wushuang's supreme treasure is the supreme defense of his entire body. There is a madman slaying armor, which can offset 99% of external attacks, and can be superimposed. Every time the same move, it will be weakened by 99%. The Ice Crystal Phoenix of Taoist Lingshuang. Each attack is very single and the same in strength. It can't threaten Jian Wushuang at all. It can only play a containment role. In addition to the outer armor, there is an inner armor to protect the divine body. Jian Wushuang, who was originally a powerful divine body, coupled with the weak 90% strength of the inner armor, could not harm his divine body, even if he passed through the outer armor. However, after seeing Wan Xing's strength with his own eyes, he felt that Wan Xing and Hui Qing were able to break his defenses. Now it is only half a step that the emperor can threaten him, and the opponents of the Taoist level can't even break his defense, especially the Blood Moon Taoist. There is no single powerful means. He stands, and lets dealing with fights will not necessarily kill him. This is the aspect of the divine body. If you want to break his origin, you have to break his divine body first. The one who can do this is not the half-step emperor, but also the top powerhouse comparable to the half-step emperor. Besides, he has the innate treasure to guard the origin. Jian Wushuang was very confident in his defense, and all of this had to be thanked by the Malong Divine Emperor. In addition to the imitation version of the eternal treasure, there are also a few top innate treasures. The price is around 100,000 treasure points, but unfortunately there is no long sword type. There is a magic sword among the top innate treasures, which is quite suitable, but it also needs 5,000 treasures, which he still can't exchange. Arcana points can be obtained by killing devourers outside the city. Sure enough, just like Jian Wushuang guessed, they really came to defend the city, but the benefits they gave were beyond his expectations. Devour the devil. Unlimited number. attack Qiuhuang City in 19 times, and hold a wave to get a lot of treasure points. Pass all of them and get special rewards. Now that the taboo demon lord outside the city had all retreated, Jian Wushuang didn't know how powerful each wave was. Just look at the combat power on the wall. Let alone keep it to the end. It would be good to not die. The special reward is not marked, but it is certainly not simple. Now he has a lot of expectations for the Temple of Qishan. Not to mention special rewards, the treasures on paper that can be exchanged make everyone boil. Especially among the strange treasures. Many of them are useful treasures to the emperor. Even if the emperor came, he was very excited. And these treasures are not available in the outside world, and can only be obtained in the Temple of Qishan. Chapter 5238. In addition to these, there are rewards for the first stage. The top 10,000 powerhouses each get a ray of Emperor's Avenue. The top 1,000 strong, each person can get the inheritance of Ding, and can also be exchanged for the most precious point. This was the reward obtained from the original identity token. Jian Wushuang gently smashed the token. Ding Etal's inheritance was generally tempting to him. At least Huiking's inheritance was needed to help him. Those weak inheritances did little to help him. And if he had that energy, it was better to understand his origin. Ultimate swordsmanship helped him to break through the 7th layer, much more powerfully than those inheritances. After the token was crushed, 100 treasure points were added to the new token. Inheritance, treasures, special rewards, and even some exotic fruits that can enhance your strength. These things can have a much greater impact on them than in the first phase of the trial. Nowadays, many people in the city have begun to exchange treasures. Pieces of powerful pinnacle treasures, and even innate treasures, have flew out of the beam of light one after another. Haha, with this explosive magic war, I don't know how many times I have increased my strength, but I am against the peak power. A powerhouse who was originally only a top-level fairy, held the magic wand in his hand and laughed madly. The momentum and fighting spirit are condensed in their hearts. At this time, there is no fear of beginning, especially those Dian immortals who don't have the treasure point to exchange the innate treasure. They are crazy now than ever before. Seeing others gaining the treasure and their strength skyrocketing, apart from envy, all they have left is the intent to fight to the sky. Among the top 1,000 strong, many people have begun to accept the inheritance of Ding et al. They are both the origin Dao of the 2nd rank. Although they are strong and weak, the inheritance of Ding etc. is enough for them to use. Now these 3 days are for them to prepare for the battle, and they can improve a little. In stark contrast to these people is the God Emperor Mo Long. He now has peak combat power, and no treasure on his body. However, his strength is on this city wall, and he can still rank in the top 100. Even if there is no supreme treasure, his consummation level physical body, combined with a powerful bloodline divine body, can burst out with a combat power comparable to the limit Dian immortal. If there is a powerful treasure, he can fully display the strength of the limit Dian immortal. One move behind, always behind. Mo Long shook his head. At the beginning, his father advised him to master a fascinating school. Even if it is not in harmony with the Tao, he can be compared to the half-step emperor in Dian immortal. But at that time, he already had the ultimate strength of the great immortal. In his father's world, he could be invincible at the same level. He felt that there was too much distraction to practice the genius, so it is better to understand the origin and wait for the emperor to cultivate the genius. Now he regrets it's too late. Hey, Mo Long sighed, sitting cross-legged on the head of the city lonely, looking at the devouring demon king like a tide, with a trace of fire in his eyes. He was about to turn around, only to find that he didn't know when a towering figure appeared beside him. Familiar armor, familiar people. Jian Wushuang. Mo Long quickly got up. Mo Long, how do you feel? Jian Wushuang's back both hands, also staring at the large swallowing demons outside the city. It's okay, it's much better than the rewards of the first stage trial. I am very excited about many treasures. Mo Long smiled awkwardly. Even if his blood jade palace is disassembled, It can be comparable to those tens of thousands of supreme treasures, and the combined value is similar to those of the supreme innate supreme treasures. Now that there is nothing, it is really difficult for him to obtain the best innate treasure with his own strength. More than 100,000. He heard that those who ranked in the top 1,000 only got 100 points, and the top 10,000 only got 10 points. As long as you have a record on your body, even if you only have a few hundred records, you can get a treasure. This is probably a reward for participation. The Qishan Temple is also rare and generous for such a while. A supreme palace is a pinnacle treasure. Among the 100,000 great fairy immortals on this city wall, many of the treasures in the hands of people are ordinary great treasures. With your strength, you plan to resist a few waves of Demon King's siege? Jian Wushuang asked without a match. Emo Long was a little embarrassed, but on this city wall, Jian Wushuang, as the only powerful Taoist monarch, was able to talk to him. It should have been a face-saving thing, but when I thought of the life and death of fighting with each other a few years ago, the unforgiving person is suddenly so powerful that he is unattainable. The more he thought about this, the less emboldened he became. According to the rules, the first wave has 100,009 ranks of demon masters. Each wave increases the intensity once, and I can resist up to the 6th wave at most. The first wave of demons with a rank of only 100,099 ranks were not enough to kill Jian Wushuang and Tiantian Daojun, so they could naturally resist. However, in the second wave, there were 1,000,000 rank 9 demon lords, and Jian Wushuang and Terror Heaven didn't dare to say that they could resist the 1,000,000 demon lords. At this time, everyone had to join together. The third wave is tens of millions, but fortunately, the first 3 waves are at rank 9 levels. Although the number is a bit large, it does not threaten their lives. Every 3 waves increase a level. The 4th to 6th wave is the devouring demon of the 9 revolutions consummation level, is also the first 100,000 to the last 10 million. Emo Long's strength under the burst can only barely reach the limit level, and it is not bad to be able to survive the 6th wave. I didn't want to earn too much. Emo Long shook his head and said with a faint smile, "The seeds of Motenghua only need 500 points to resist the 6th wave. It's almost enough." "Yes, your father is an incredible powerhouse, and you don't have to fight like that." There was a powerful father or master, who was much better than his peers in the beginning, and both Ji Chaoyang and Emo Long were people like plague. Ji Chaoyang belongs to that kind of character with very strong strength and talent. Even if he is not the only son, his father and the emperor have enough reasons to get a lot of treasures for this son. After all, he is the first person in the Ji family dynasty. Emo Long's father is different. His father is a powerful ruler. In their big world, his father speaks for words. He can give the treasure to whomever he wants. There is no need to consider others at all. But this is also the point. Emo Long had not been a manager since he was young, and his strength was average. With so many powerful treasures in one body, he could only exert the strength of the ultimate Dayan immortal. Although Emo Long was a little unconvinced, he couldn't refute it. If it weren't for his father, he wouldn't be better than Luo Hao. All 9 turns are complete, and the second stage Origin Dao is still at the 7th level. He Dao can barely merge, but the 7th layer of He Dao, even if it succeeds, will be much worse. Incompatible and unable to break through. Jian Wushuang saw Emo Long's embarrassment on the side, patted him on the shoulder, didn't say much, just left the other side a mustard seed before leaving. Chapter 5239. There is a set of pinnacle treasures, enough for Emo Long to use. These treasures didn't help Jian Wushuang at all, so he gave it. He was not willing to help others, nor was he pitying. He just wanted to give Emo Long a chance. Jian Wushuang glanced at the east city wall, and found that the heaven-tearing Daojun was drawing some peak Dayan immortals everywhere. Realizing that someone was watching, Tearing Sky also looked over, with the corners of his mouth rising. The two were facing each other far away, and some of the other strong men also found that their situation was not right. Dayan Immortal, who had been drawn up, did not dare to stand in disorder at this time. He hadn't regarded Tier Heaven as his opponent from the beginning, but the opponent had an ancient aura, very similar to the Eye of the Beast God, and it seemed that Tier Heaven was staring at his Eye of the Beast God. A few years ago, Emo Long also said that the reason for his injury was also toward the sky, but when he was about to escape, he was overshadowed by the Emperor of the Daluo realm. He could have escaped without injury, but was eventually beaten to death by the torn sky. Jian Wushuang now understands that the treasure on his body has been spotted. There was a black flame in his eyes. Tearing the sky wanted the eyes of the beast god, and he also wanted to figure out where the ridiculous aura of tears came from. The two looked at each other full of gunpowder, but they separated in an instant. As for wooing people, he naturally couldn't beat the sky. After all, he was a veteran Daojun, but wooing people was useless. The rules for defending the city are clear. You need a coach, 5 commanders and 10 generals. These positions will be blessed by them. For example, Jian Wushuang now kills 199 ranked demon kings and can obtain 10,000 supreme points. If he has the position of commander, then he can obtain 15,000 supreme points. Command can increase by 30%. The general is only 10%. The position of the coach is naturally very attractive, but everything is about strength. The coach is not selected but killed. These 3 days were considered the last time for their preparations, and the next devouring demon siege was only 1 hour between each wave. At this hour, they can exchange treasures with the supreme treasure haul they just obtained. And as for the inheritance exchange, they have no time to practice. Many of the treasures on the token are pills and fruits that quickly restore the body and origin of the gods. And of course the price is outrageous. A fruit of life can instantly restore Dian Immortal's divine body to its peak, requiring 50 treasure points. All can be exchanged for a peak arcana suit. There is also the 9 turns concentration pill, which is a great medicine to repair the origin, and the price is more expensive than the fruit of life. If you need 300 treasure points, you can redeem a few ordinary innate treasures. No wonder Emo Long lost more than half of his source at the beginning, and he only fully recovered after consuming half of the treasures to restore his source. The reason why Jian Wushuang's precious spot did not move at all was just in case. The first 9 waves swallowed the devil. He was able to deal with it, but in the next 10 waves he had nothing to do, because only 9 waves were displayed. Even if the evolution speculates, it is not easy for him to pass all levels. When those devouring demon kings first appeared, many demon kings had reached the level of Dao Masters. Who knows if there were any demon kings at the half-step Dao Master level in the end. These Dian Immortals on the city wall can accompany him to the end. Probably not many. Dian Immortal at the extreme level can barely pass the first 9 waves. And then there are only a few half-walkers left. This trial is all based on personal will. As long as you resist the first 3 waves of the guarantee, you can choose to retire and go to the city to practice. Looking at these fighting intentions, it is estimated that few are willing to retire early, all thinking of fighting desperately, unable to resist it and go on. There are not many people like Emo Long in the universe. After all, there are not many Fourth-Order Emperors, and he is still an only child. Now there are only 2 kinds of people who can survive here. One is that they don't have a strong background, and the other is that they have a strong background. These people do not lack small opportunities. What they lack is this kind of heavenly opportunity. They either came from some powerful emperor families, or some Taoists in the sect. Whether it is a family or a sect, internal struggles are always more cruel than external ones. Fighting with the outside world, everyone goes up together, taller and taller, and you can see what else. But the inside is different. The same generation are all Dian Immortals. You are the only immortal. You are not embarrassed. Everyone else is the Emperor, the pinnacle Dian Immortal, but you are just an ordinary 9-rank perfect Dian Immortal. This sense of gap can most arouse people's victory and defeat. The previous first stage trial was actually not that fair. Some ordinary 9th ranks were consummated, and they had no strength to fight, and they would die in vain. Now it's different. Regardless of your strength, you can at least fight the first 3 waves. Get the treasure points. Exchange for powerful treasures and treasures to quickly increase your strength, and you can continue to fight. Jian Wushuang, who saw through this, understood these people a little bit. 3 days only passed in an instant, and the dying immortal on the city wall had already been unable to bear it. And at this time they were staring at the outside of the city. Those devouring demon lords have long since retreated, and now the outside of the city is empty, and is completely silent. The position dispute. I am not qualified to be the coach. I should be the one in charge of the position. If you want to be the commander, at least you have to have the strength of a half-step Daojun. You are a limit dying immortal, and you want to be the commander. According to the information from Tianzhu, Dianxian, who ranked first in the first 3 waves, can be appointed as the coach, and each position is subject to the ranking. This is the fairest practice. At the beginning, Lord Tear Heaven, he really naively thought that they wanted to elect by themselves. What if there is no position? The first 3 waves of danger are very small. It is our opportunity. As long as we obtain enough treasure points, we can gain a strong inheritance. Everyone is eagerly waiting for the first attack of devouring demon lord. Jian Wushuang's body was suspended in the air, looking at the barrier in front of him. The barrier would disappear at the beginning of the trial, and he could also go out of the city to kill the enemy. A bell rang, ringing in the entire primitive world. All the dying immortals on the primordial star heard this refreshing bell ringing, and raised their heads to the sky. The bell rang 3 times, and Jian Wushuang felt that his mental power had reached his best state at this time, which was simply amazing. Boom! Without waiting for them to think, the Tianzhu in the city behind them let out a roar. If the previous bell can refresh their minds, then the current roar would be a heavy punch, slamming them in the chest. The second stage of trial now begins. As soon as the voice of the puppet fell, the barrier outside the city began to collapse, and the barrier in the city behind him was still there. The first 3 waves were not completed, and no one wanted to enter the city. At the moment when the barrier just disappeared, the dying immortal on the city wall was like a vicious dog, rushing out in an instant. Tens of thousands of top-level dying immortals took the lead, knowing that this first wave of devouring demon lords, with only 109 ranks, was simply slaughtered for them. Chapter 5240. Jia. In the darkness, a terrifying sound rang, and then a long black line that stretched for thousands of miles swept across. Jian Wushuang took a closer look. Good fellow. 100,000 devouring demons rushed towards them in neat rows. 10,000 in each row, a full 10 queues. Although the precious points given in the first 3 waves are few, it is related to the position of the coach and several other positions. Toward the sky rushed to the forefront regardless of his face. And now it is speed that is completely fighting. Looking at these crazy people, Jian Wuming was not moved. He was still standing on the city wall, but an extra long sword appeared behind him. It was the ordinary supreme long sword, with its grayish-white body like gray stone. Kill the enemy? It's not who runs fast. Jian Wushuang is best at the domain, the stars, lakes and seas, the world of heart swords, the domain of beast gods, and the universe. Each one is a big killer to the group. Looking at these devourers, it reminded him of the ghosts he encountered in the great wilderness. Song. Jian Wushuang drew out the divine sword, only to slash it with a flat sword, and an extremely magnificent sword light instantly turned into a river of millions of miles in size. The river water is full of fierce sword energy. The speed of the sword light is extremely fast. It only takes a breath to surpass those vying for fear of the dying immortal, and go straight to the devouring demon. The half-walking monarchs rushing in the forefront, as well as the sky-tearing monarchs, were all taken aback, and then turned their heads to look behind them. Jian Wushuang's mouth curled up and smiled at them faintly. Everyone in welcome. Although Jian Wushuang had a smile on his face, his eyes were fierce. Sword qi is like a river rolling, and it meets the devouring demon in an instant. In front of the fierce sword qi, these devouring demon lords are like thin paper, which breaks with one touch. 100,000 devoured the devil, and one was strangled clean. Ding! The token on Jian Wushuang trembled. Just 1,000? Jian Wushuang originally thought there would be around 10,000, but he didn't expect it to be 1,000. In the leaderboard on the token, except for his ranking changed a bit, everyone else is still the same. First, Jian Wushuang devouring record. 1,000, that is 1,000 treasure points. However, in this ranking, Jian Wushuang can also watch the rankings of other original stars. Randomly glanced, it turned out that other primordial star powerhouses, like him, ate alone. Soon the battle on the other 4 walls was over, and the rankings changed a bit. The 10,000 star Heavenly Emperor was really overbearing, and he also obtained 1,000 treasure points. He had seen the strength of 10,000 stars, and 100,000 devouring demon lord estimated 1. Fist can kill. Now he is tied for first place with Wanqing, followed by Huiqing, Xiuyue, Lengshuang, Ji Chaoyang and others. In fact, Huiqing's strength can also be swallowed by one person, but his character dictates that he is not like Jian Wushuang and Wanqing, who can swallow it by himself. The other primordial stars also ended very quickly, without any muddling. Jian Wushuang didn't even get out of the city, so he killed 100,000 devouring demon lord in one fell swoop. This combat power is actually nothing to brag about, and Blood Moon and Lung Shuang can also do it. It's just that Wanqing is the only one of the strongest. Even if other people are dissatisfied, they dare to say more. Jian Wushuang is here, but there is also a Dao sovereign who can challenge him. He ran the fastest, didn't get the last treasure point, and didn't even touch those devourers. Both Xiuyue and Lengshuang have a large area, and the two can even divide it. He didn't get anything. For a while, he couldn't hold back his face, and he returned to the city wall with a black face. At this time, there were also many half-walking monarchs gathered around him, and some extreme great fairy. It seemed that he was about to put pressure on Jian Wushuang. Brother Tear Heaven, this Jian Wushuang is so selfish that he can swallow it all by himself. The demon monk has the power of a half-step emperor, and he knows that it is distributed to others, but he is a new Taoist monarch so rampant. It's just bullying too much. All the treasure points that were picked up for nothing have been taken by him alone, and the remaining difficult ones are left to us. This person has the strength of a strong man, but he does not have the style of a strong man. Yes, if so, it would be too unfair to us. A half-travel monarch frowned, and the first torn his face, his voice hoarse. Since he waited for me to be unrighteous, don't blame me for waiting for him. As soon as these words came out, those extreme Dayan immortals were silent, and Jian Wushuang was a powerhouse at the Taoist level anyway, and it was okay to complain. They didn't dare to stumble this ruthless man. The half-step Dao monarch was okay. He could have survived in the hands of Dao monarch, but now he has obtained many innate treasures, and some treasures that increase his strength. He was so energetic for a while that even Dao monarch didn't care about it. In fact, there is another meaning to them when they say that is letting the Lord of the Heavens to come out and talk to Jian Wushuang. At this moment Jian Wushuang stood on the city wall, his expression unchanged, as a strong Dayan immortal. Even if the voices of those people were small, he could still hear them. He just ignored them lazily. As for making Kizuna, he disdains even more. Anyone who has the courage and is not afraid of death can come. He had just killed 100,000 devouring demon lord. The same breath made him tremble all over. It was pretty good if he didn't do anything with them, and it was too naive to even want to divide the most precious points. What he didn't expect was that Dao Shou Tian was really naive to find him. Jian Wushuang, I and others are all powerful Taoist monarchs. Are you too lost in doing this? Your powerful family knows, but more or less leave some for them. The Taoist swordsman just opened his mouth and stood in morality. The highest point of Jian Wushuang is a condemnation. This was the second person who made Jian Wushuang feel very stupid besides the strong in the big dream world. Tear the sky, you ran like a dog before, so you have a strong demeanor? Jian Wushuang stared at the opponent coldly, and then said, the 10,000 star Heavenly Emperor, and the strong on other primitive stars, kill them all by one person. Is there no demeanor for 100,000 devouring the devil? Facing Jian Wushuang's questioning, Dao Juntir Heaven's expression moved, and he wanted to speak again. Jian Wushuang is not Hui Qing, and he will not save any face to these people at all. His aura suddenly rises, and his pitch-black shining armor exudes an aura of extinction, which makes everyone who surrounds them soften their legs and feet almost. Planted. After a glance at them, Jian Wushuang yelled at Dao Shou-Tian. Do you dare to say that to Wanqing? Do you dare to say that to the powerhouses on other primitive stars? If you dare, I can still look at you high. If you dare not, just get out of me. With the long sword hanging in front of him, if he dared to say one more thing, he would do it directly, although the Qishan temple stipulated that he could not kill the same race Dayan immortal. But I didn't say that I could not teach the other party. Taoist Ripper gritted his teeth and frowned. He only eased his mind when he wanted to speak. Now is not the time for internal fighting. If he fights Jian Wushuang, wouldn't it be cheaper for those half-step Taoists? Chapter 5241. Only then did he realize that he was almost fooled by others. But now he only needs to take a step back, and his ruin is not enough. But his reputation will definitely be unpleasant. Forget it, there are 2 more waves. The battle for the position of the coach is hiding in the key 3rd wave. Xian Tian comforted in his heart. But on the surface he gave a cold snort and turned to leave. Among the many powerful people onlookers, no one dared to speak. They could only retreat after tearing the sky. Those half-walking lords, all secretly cursing the tearing lords, are simply a sorrow. And they are even scared. On the contrary, none of these people hated Jian Wushuang. They were all secretly cursing for inaction. This is the strong one. The strong is not convincing on the surface but convincing. These people said Jian Wushuang was selfish, but in their hearts they felt that this matter couldn't be more normal, and they would swallow it if they had that strength. This is the temple of Qishan. Who doesn't want to be the first? Who doesn't want to get the best inheritance? Yield. This word shouldn't appear in this world. The only truth is the strong eating of the weak, and everything else is false. After these people retreated, Jian Wushuang put away his sword and sat cross-legged on the wall with his eyes closed. The 100,000 devouring demon lord just now. Just as he guessed, the Tao in their body was the devouring origin. And these origins were of great help to his extreme Tao, no less than devouring the Dayan immortal. How can Jian Wushuang let such a big supplement? He has already thought about it, and he will swallow it in the next wave. The horn sounded, and the second wave of devouring demons struck again. This time it was million devouring the demon lord. These people didn't worry much when they arrived. They couldn't recognize 100,000. And even a half-step emperor couldn't kill him with one blow. This time, Taoist Tier Heaven maintained his style of being a strong man in the air, standing proudly on the top of the city alone, watching the other strong men rushing past him, and nodding slightly. When he turned his head to look at Jian Wushuang, he gave a cold snort, with a disdainful expression on his face, but his eyes revealed fear. Ouch! A heavy breath rushed towards his face. The millions of devouring demon lords were 10 times larger than the previous formation, and their aura was even stronger. This made those who rushed in the forefront stunned. But now it is exactly the best time to get the treasure point. I rushed forward without thinking too much. Just when these Dayan immortals and those devouring demons were less than 10,000 miles away, Jian Wushuang began to move. This time he didn't make a sword, but his heart moved slightly. The 5th floor of the ultimate kendo heart sword world. This trick was already very familiar to him. To him, he didn't feel the overload of the phantom sword at all. It was just a move of his mind, and a huge heart sword illustration covered the area of millions of miles. Exit. Spit it out. The sword intent within a million miles rose. Billions of sword lights fell. And when the devouring demon lord was about to rush to the Dayan immortals, he suddenly stopped. Those Dayan immortals were also stunned, looking up at the sky. Countless sword lights that made their heart palpitations tilted down. And every sword light was enough to kill the top Dayan immortal. It is more than enough to deal with these level 9 devouring demon lords. Haha! Just like cutting leeks, Jianguang instantly harvested the millions of devouring demon lords in the audience, leaving no one behind. Not only beheaded, but also swallowed them all one by the way. And in the end there was not even a trace of the aura that swallowed the demon lord left on the battlefield. Cutting the grass and rooting it out, everyone who saw his trick was dumbfounded. Tear Heaven Daijin's jerky movement before coming, the battlefield in front of him regained the dead silence. He simply couldn't accept it. The first wave was enough. The Taoist with the domain could easily be killed by a single blow. But this was the second wave, and it was enough to swallow the demon by a million. Even if the emperor arrives in half a step, he is not sure that he will be wiped out in one blow. His face is darker than last time. Even he has decided that next time he will stay out of the darkness and wait for those devouring demon lords to come out. This time, after the Dayan Immortal retired, they were surprisingly silent. If it was the level of the Taoist last time, then this time there was half a step of the emperor's power. They all suspected that Jian Wushuang was hiding his strength now, guessing that he had already half-stepped the strength of the emperor. No wonder he is a life-and-death relationship with the demon monk. He may already have half the strength of the emperor. Otherwise he would not dare to stand for the demon monk in front of so many Daojun in the last war. 8 or 9 are not far from 10. We should stay away from him. And we can't provoke him anymore. Dianxian, who had previously said to give Jian Wushuang a trip, was hiding far away at the other end of the city wall, fearing that Jian Wushuang would look unpleasant to him and severely hurt him at this time. At that time, he will lose a lot. Everyone prepare for the third wave. Well, the first 2 waves of Wushuang brothers are powerful and can be killed by a single person, and we have to take action in this third wave. Haha, you are too shameless. I think we can live without you in the third wave. On the city wall, the hostility of the last time was missing, but it became more harmonious. This is the respect for strength. The first time they felt they could provoke, the second time they were really afraid. Even Tear Heaven Daojun is now uncertain. If it were in the past, he still has confidence. www.novel. Calm, but now Jian Wushuang's demonstrated strength is too strong. Even if he broke the seal and used that treasure to increase his strength for a short time, he didn't have any confidence to deal with Jian Wushuang. Damn, how could he be so strong? The surface of the Taoist Tear Heaven is calm, but his heart is burning with anger. The ancient aura on Jian Wushuang's body is very similar to his secret treasure, and the 2 treasures must be related. If he can get it, maybe he will have the hope of being comparable to the Emperor Bamboo. Looking at it now, hope is too slim. Not reconciled. Torn days roared in his heart. The treasure in his body allowed him to become Dao's sovereign from the peak of Dianxian. Once all the seals were unlocked, his strength could skyrocket again. I am afraid that few Dao sovereign would be his opponents. If he gets the ancient secret treasure from Jian Wushuang, he can still rise again. Hope is now shattered. Nothing. Maybe he was spotted by Jian Wushuang. He is now a prey, and anyone who has the intent to kill must be killed first. The old saying the city does not deceive him. Now he can only go one step at a time, but he will not give up the position of coach. Even if the restriction in the body is opened in advance, he will also fight for it to increase the treasure point by 50%, which is too tempting. In the first 2 waves, there were only 11,000 treasure points, but in the third wave, there were 100,000 treasure points. As long as he could kill 60%, he could seize the position of coach. He snorted and said in his heart, "Wait!" This time, Taoist Thundering Heaven jumped off the city wall and waited outside the city in advance. This scene made Dayan Immortal on the city wall astounding. What about the strong demeanor? One seated on the wall motionless, his breath soaring into the sky. A man like a hungry wolf, salivating his saliva. Those half-walking lords looked down on Taoist swordsmen even more in their hearts. Chapter 52-42. He was the weakest of the previous 5 Daojun, but at this time he made such a decision, and Daojun's face was torn to heaven and lost. The previous 2 times were completely due to the power of his extreme Tao, and his Buddhist strength was almost endless. If it were an ordinary Taoist, I am afraid that he would not waste his strength in this way. In the third wave of 10,000 swallowing demon lord, Jian Wushuang was somewhat powerless. Either he used Yin Yin universe to kill all of them as before, or he could only end up fighting. The third wave has a total of 100,000 treasure points. He is still not focusing on his eyesight, mainly for the position of coach. The more you get to the later stage, the more treasure points you get. If you have the position of the coach, 1 million treasure points will be 5 million. This is an extra 500,000, the eternal treasure of the placement version, but only 1 million treasure points. In the first 3 waves, there were a total of 111,000 treasure points. With his strength, not to mention the clearance, he really hopes to reach the million treasure points by virtue of his position as coach. At that time, the imitation eternal treasure can be exchanged. Although he majored in swordsmanship, he has the blessings of the ultimate Taoism, and he can build another Taoism to match the 8-Fong Yunlong seal. He doesn't know how strong the eternal treasure is, but he only needs to understand that the entire primitive universe is now a real eternal treasure. This kind of treasure is too rare. To obtain it, not only strength, but also luck is needed. Only the air transporter can obtain the eternal treasure in the long river of time and space. Emperor Zhu Tian is the kind of grandeur. An ancient relic suddenly appeared in front of him, allowing him to receive several eternal treasures. This incident, once the ups and downs spread in the long river of time and space, has set off a wave of fanatical time and space drifting, and even the business of the time went out and drifted for several epochs. Visible the attraction of the eternal treasure. The current Jian Wushuang is not even the half-step emperor. If he can obtain this eternal treasure, he will be able to have the half-step emperor's combat power in the 9th rank realm, which may be comparable to the 9th rank. This is much stronger than those inheritances, and it can also practice another powerful genius. Jian Wushuang couldn't imagine how strong he would be by then. 9 turns are comparable to the emperor. Wouldn't even the emperor be able to kill even the emperor at the 9th round of consummation? I am afraid that what Qishan Temple wants is this kind of heaven-defying Dian Immortal. Only when this kind of Dian-Xian combination is successful can it help the Temple of Qishan. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. For the eternal treasure, he decided to fight. Just after the horn sounded, Jian Wushuang followed the crowd to rush out, but his figure flashed, and he did not go to the ground when he was in the air. The whole body is trembling with thought power, and the strongest whole card is also his biggest battle now. One thought of the universe. Jian Wushuang's brows trembled. Get up! Under the control of the immense power of thought, a miniature universe appeared outside Qiuhuang's city. No way! At this moment everyone took a breath. They didn't expect that Jian Wushuang actually had a backhand, and he was thinking of swallowing the demon lord of 10 million this time. How crazy is this? If it was the power of the Taoist the first time, then the second time they guessed that Jian Wushuang concealed his strength, or had special means. The origin Tao was strong enough to kill 1 million devouring demon lord at one time. But this time it was 10 million. Even the Taoist swordsman felt crazy, thinking Jian Wushuang was desperate. Even if it is desperate, it is impossible to kill 10,000 devouring demon lord in one fell swoop. But the next scene made all of them tremble. A sword formation condensed with evil aura appeared in the sky. They are very familiar with this breath. It is the breath exuding in the dark, very similar, but it is slightly different. Absolute immortal formation. The eye of the beast god. Not only did the absolute immortal formation be pulled out, but even the eyes of the beast gods were not let go, and everything turned to the extreme. There is still a majestic and powerful world under the Juxian array, which is the heart sword world. All domains are all superimposed together, and now Jian Wushuang's aura rushes into the sky. Although he is not a half-step emperor, he also has some strength. Kill. Jian Wushuang killed the word as soon as he said it. 18 phantom swords formed a large array that swept the entire land. The original star continent, which was extremely hard, was cut into a tianqing of thousands of miles. Each phantom sword has the size of tens of thousands of battles. Among the army of thousands of devouring demons, 18 phantom swords cooperate with each other to give out absolute suppressing force. No one dared to approach. Even the Taoist sundering heaven could only stand on the periphery with gritted teeth. Just watching, just 2 breaths, the 10,000 devouring demon lord was all beheaded by Jian Wushuang. What kind of strength is this? Someone looked at the sword formation blankly and asked tremblingly. 100,000 Dian Immortal didn't say a word at this time, just staring at the absolute immortal formation in a daze. In the end, I didn't know who spoke and said something. This is the emperor. After all the devouring demon lords were beheaded, Jian Wushuang hurriedly put away the sword formation. The whole person's breath trembled, and it fell to the freezing point. 2 short breaths drained the strength of his whole body. It's important to know that the reserves of the ultimate origin Dao alone are comparable to the emperor. The Jian Wushuang polar Dao's reserves are even more amazing, hundreds of times more than the ultimate origin Dao. His body, the Yanli reserve, has exceeded the weak emperor and can be compared to the second-order emperor. With such a huge power, he actually consumed 2 breaths cleanly. He himself felt incredible. The phantom sword was originally only an inch long, but it was raised to the size of 10,000 battles by him. After the phantom sword, which was originally extremely expensive, expanded 1,000,000 times, it could be imagined how huge it would consume. Call. Breath out this breath, swallow the devil and perish. He also exposed his full strength, and the consumption this time was too exaggerated. Even if he recovered, it would take time. Fortunately, in every 3 stages, there will be a whole day interval. Jian Wushuang's aura was a bit unstable, and he couldn't manage that much. He hurriedly put away all the methods, and the figure almost fell on the top of the city. Thousands of devouring the devil, and all being swallowed by him, can also be regarded as suppressing the evil arrogance in his heart. It's half full. Once his appetite is opened, he will be even crazier next time. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. He tried his best to restrain himself, exchanged several pills for restoring Yanli, and swallowed them in one mouthful. Turn the power emanating from the pill to quickly restore one's own strength. 100,000 Dian immortals outside the city. I don't know whether to return or not at this time. The accumulated fighting spirit has been hit again and again, and now it has completely collapsed. Either go back and retire, or just guard outside the darkness. No matter how powerful the devouring demon lord is, they will go. They were already scared, afraid that Jian Wushuang would kill all devouring monarchs again. Moreover, the aura emitted by Jian Wushuang's sword formation just now was too similar to those demon monarchs, which had to make them think of a horrible secret in the primitive universe. Swallow? Taboo? Demon Lord? Chapter 5243. At that time, you can also break through rank 9 and become the perfect powerhouse of rank 9. At that time, his strength is estimated to be much stronger than the average half-step emperor. Interesting. Jian Wushuang's eyes beamed, as if seeing Jian Wushuang's thoughts. Ji Chaoyang was not bothering, so he pulled Huiqing back to Beicheng, and the 2 of them were assigned to a city wall, but they had mutual support. Insert an app. Perfectly reproduce the old version of the book-chasing artifact, an interchangeable app Mimi reading. Saying goodbye to the 2 men, Jian Wushuang, stepping on the Heiyao stone slab, and walking into a palace. The city lord's mansion is divided into 4 halls. The treasure hall is just one of them. There are a lot of treasures stored here, all of which are extremely useful to Dian Immortal. Entering the hall, there was a change. There were several Dian Immortals passing by just now, but after entering the interior, no one could be seen. Jian Wushuang guessed in his mind that he should have entered the space mezzanine, and this treasure hall was opened up with countless mezzanine levels. It is impossible to meet other people at all, and everyone enters a unique mezzanine. Jian Wushuang had seen this method, and only when the origin of the space reached a very high level could he create such a strange palace. After entering the hall, look around. The hall was empty, and it didn't look like there were treasures. In the main hall, There is only a green bottle, and nothing else. Puff, Jian Wushuang just took a step, and a burst of cyan smoke appeared in the green vial in front of him. The fist-sized bottle eventually emitted several battles of blue smoke, and finally turned into a scaled monster. But looking at its face, Jian Wushuang could see that the opponent was very old. There are several gullies on the face, and the scales on the neck are a little off. Thanks, Tusk, young man. I can sense that there are so many treasures in you. Jian Wushuang didn't dare to be careless, clasped his fist and said, Senior, Junior Jian Wushuang, the trial of the God of Fortune, come to exchange the treasure. Jian Wushuang didn't dare to underestimate this old monster, who didn't know how many years he had lived. Don't worry, take your time. No one has spoken to the old man for a long time, and I will tell you what treasure you want to change. I will also check it for you. The scaly old man was very easy to talk, and looked like a naughty child, which made Jian Wushuang relax. Come down. I don't know the name of the predecessor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile leaking joy. You can call me Qiu Huang. When the scaly man said that he was famous, his voice became extremely majestic. After Jian Wushuang heard this name, he was also excited. Qiu Huang? Qiu Huangqing? Is this old guy the master of Qiu Huangqing? Little guy, don't be afraid. The city of Qiu Huang you are in used to belong to me. The sword has no muscle tremor on both sides. Come on, let me see your origin. This seat will list you more suitable treasures. Qiu Huang said as he drifted over. Can't let him see. Jian Wushuang instinctively backed away to avoid him, but he still let Qiu Huang smell his original power. Qiu Huang, who had just approached Jian Wushuang, was taken aback first, then shocked. In the end, his body trembled so badly, his figure dodged behind the throne for an instant. Only one head leaked out, his eyes fixed on Jian Wushuang, and he said in horror, Who are you? You have that fellow's breath like this. It was still seen. Jian Wushuang was not hiding it, so he dragged it out. He had just learned that the other party was Qiu Huang's identity, and his secret path was not good. Now in his kendo origin, there is the origin of the sword who destroyed Qiu Huang city. Fortunately, he kept explaining that Qiu Huang trembled out of behind the throne, but there was still a look of fear in his eyes. I can imagine how much he was afraid of that person back then. Ahem, in fact, I and him already belong to the same camp, and I am not afraid of him. Qiu Huang clenched his fist and covered his mouth and coughed twice before remembering that this was the alien universe, and there was nothing to be afraid of. Senior, I don't know if it was? Jian Wushuang deliberately said that there are indeed many secrets in the world of the Temple of Qishan. If you can learn some, you will be prepared in the future. Qiu Huang looked straight and waved his hand quickly. Young man, Zhui confessed that I can't tell you about the Temple of Qishan. You should try it honestly. When you leave the primitive world, you will be told what you should know. Jian Wushuang didn't expect the other party's mouth to be so strict, and he didn't want to say anything, but he still knew a person's name from his words. Zhui. There is also the primitive world. The world of Primordial Star was originally called Primordial Realm, and Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. The predecessor thinks that the treasure points in the hands of the juniors are more worthwhile to exchange for those treasures. Jian Wushuang didn't ask more, and went straight to the subject. Qiu Huang turned around and sat cross-legged on the throne, stroking his beard with one hand and waving the other. There were countless treasures all over the hall. You are the ultimate kendo. It seems that your Dao should only be around the 6th level, and your realm is only the 9th ranked Dayan Immortal. But the origin in your body is extremely powerful, which is a bit strange. Qiu Huang wondered. Jian Wushuang took a sigh of relief. It seems that the opponent is not strong enough to see through his body. At least the Ji-Dao opponent didn't see it. He didn't know that Ji-Dao was the original Dao with no action, let alone Qiu Huang. Even if the true spirit was lying on his body to see it, he couldn't see it. Although he didn't know Qiu Huang's past, Jian Wushuang could also tell that Qiu Huang was at least a 5th-order emperor. Otherwise he would not be able to build a city of this level. This is much stronger than the heavenly court of Zhenwuyang. At least he has never seen such a luxurious city in Desiyu, completely made of He Yaoshi. The whole body is a treasure combined. This is a broken eternal treasure. Qiu Huang frowned, and then said, the enlightenment flower is indeed suitable for you. But the ultimate source needs not only enlightenment, but also the tempering of life and death. Hearing this comment, Jian Wushuang nodded in agreement. He was indeed able to break through so quickly in the trials of life and death. Since entering the great wilderness, he has been walking around the tip of the knife every time. And Yinxian has resisted the ninth rank Dianxian. After he broke through the 3rd rank Dian Immortal, he met the 9th rank perfect Dian Immortal. Every time it was the suppression of absolute strength. He couldn't breathe at all. After entering the Temple of Qishan, it was a little better. At rank 6 Dian Immortal, he will behead the ultimate Dian Immortal, singing all the way, and attacking the powerhouse of rank 9 Battle Dao Monarch. Now that he hasn't had that kind of tempering between life and death, he has indeed slowed down. Your origin is strong, but there are some other places that can't keep up with your origin, such as the divine body and soul realm, but the mental strength is particularly reluctant to keep up with your origin. Qiu Huang commented on Jian Wushuang's strength one by one, pointing out Jian Wushuang's shortcomings. Jian Wushuang didn't find these things himself. Especially the divine body. 1,000 times the basic divine body is strong enough in his opinion. Chapter 52-44. With the blessing of the Eye of the Beast God, it can be comparable to a special life. Qiu Huang seemed to see his doubts, and said in an educated voice, little guy, don't be convinced. I know that you have a special secret treasure that can increase the divine body. But don't forget, you are the 9th rank. When you reach consummation on the 9th revolution, and even the ultimate way of cultivating to consummation, the effect of the secret treasure at that time is much smaller. The most important thing for the divine body is the foundation. The stronger the foundation, the stronger your divine body will become more tenacious. In our era, the requirements for the divine body are much higher than you are now. Qiu Huang looked back on the ancient times. His tone also changed yearning, and said tremblingly, in the ancient times, your strength is considered superior. Far from being a peerless, only the peerless Tianjiao who is barely counted by the origin Dao, and the others. The difference is far, at least in the current era. His words are not exaggerated. The glory of the ancient times is indeed a great era. At that time there was still an overlord in the starry sky, but now the starry sky is desolate. There are not even a few masters of the universe, especially in the long river of time and space where the original universe is located. The strong are almost dying. Jian Wushuang heard that he couldn't compare to the Tianjiao of today's age, and his expression was a bit solemn. Isn't the strongest emperor in Dian Immortal half-step emperor? After breaking through rank 9, he still has another leap in strength, which can be comparable to the emperor. Isn't this a peerless? Senior, can other primitive stars have Dian Immortal who is more against the sky? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, your primitive star has 3 high-level trialists who are no less than yours. You must know that their chances are also very good, especially the little monk. Look at the cause and effect on your body. I should know him, Qiu Huang said slowly. Little monk. It's Hai Qing. Jian Wushuang nodded. Hui Qing's chance was indeed extraordinary, and could be taken care of by Qishan Temple. The entire primordial realm Dian Immortal was the only one. His chances are very unusual. At least I can't see where the inheritance from him comes from. Maybe some big man has taken a fancy to his potential, and bestowed it in advance. Big shot. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Could it be that in this temple of forbidden god? Boy, don't think about it. This temple of the gods is more powerful than you think. Qiu Huang said proudly. Haha, it's a bit farther to say it. Let's talk about yourself. That little monk has a strong inheritance, and his path is almost fixed. You are different from him. At least you haven't practiced inheritance yet, and now you need what you need most. It is still to grind the foundation and prepare for the future inheritance, and then it is the harmony. Speaking of this, Qiu Huang couldn't help but mention Ji Chaoyang, and Jian Wushuang knew the other side's road to the strong, which was the road to the strong that best met the Qishan Temple's plan for Dian. The Wanqing Heavenly Emperor was originally an emperor, and he had cultivated a powerful genius to gain half a step of the emperor's strength, which is not worth mentioning on Qiu Huang's side. That said, he can only be ranked third in this original star. Not even as good as Ji Chaoyang. Although Qiu Huang said that, it was him who didn't listen. He really didn't believe it. By virtue of the one origin of the great Tao, it was many times stronger than the ultimate. Wait, sooner or later, I will surpass everyone. The seed of the strong has already been planted. Jian Wushuang's determination cannot be changed. No one can stand in front of him. He used to be a strong Taoist, but now he doesn't care about it. Half-step emperor is also at your fingertips. Qiu Huang didn't say much. He directly proposed several treasures and asked Jian Wushuang to choose them one by one. These treasures, worth 100,000 treasures, are the most suitable treasures for you. Qiu Huang introduced while talking. There are 3 categories. The treasure to enhance the soul. This is what you need most now. The stronger the soul realm, the faster you can advance to the 9th turn consummation. This underworld stone is most suitable for you. The soul power on it is very sufficient. Your soul is strong, and you can only absorb one in your life. 50,000 points, absolutely no loss. Jian Wushuang's heartbeat was indeed what Qiu Huang said. Breaking through the rank of 9 helped him more than breaking through the ultimate kendo, which is indeed what he needs most today. But just after breaking through the 9th revolution, he had no brows for consummation, and no confidence in his heart. Yes, I have exchanged this underworld stone. Jian Wushuang took out the token and handed it to Qiu Huang. Qiu Huang took the token, saw the treasure point above, smiled and nodded. That's a lot. The second category is the divine body. The treasures worth 30,000 points of treasure here are to enhance the divine body, which can make your divine body break through to 1,800 times. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed in his heart. The improvement of the soul realm would not be realized into combat power for a while, but the improvement of the divine body was a real jump in combat power. 1,800 times the basic divine body, combined with the eye of the beast god, can almost reach 8,000 times. The stronger the divine body, the higher the multiplier will decrease if you want to break through 10,000 times. I am afraid that the basic divine body needs to be 5,000 times. The more difficult it is to upgrade later, and the more precious points it spends. Jian Wushuang suddenly feels a lot of pressure. The 110,000 precious points have already been spent 80,000, and the strength has only increased so much. The third category is your origin Tao. Since you insist on improving, I recommend you to exchange it. Origin fruit is much stronger than the enlightenment flower, and it is more natural. It can instantly increase your origin Tao, and the price is also 3 Wanzibo point. There are a total of 110,000 treasure points. No points left. Jian Wushuang's heart is dripping blood. But Qiu Huang is indeed correct. These treasures are indeed what he needs. So he exchanged all of them with his teeth. Now these are all yours. They are all treasures that can be upgraded in an instant. You don't need to spend the most precious point to go to the time chamber. Jian Wushuang was speechless, and the time secret chamber spent only a few precious points. And now with a wave of his hand, he spent 110,000 precious points in Qiu Huang. I am afraid that there are not many people in the primitive world who have his mastery. By the way, I think you are very interested in space. I still have a unique space treasure that needs 500,000 points. If you want to, you have to work harder. Qiu Huang suddenly appeared in his hands. The light blue crystal on one side exudes the breath of endless space. After Jian Wushuang felt this power, his mind moved, and he immediately felt that the treasures in his hand were useless, and all of them were not as good as the square crystal. His biggest reliance is that the space origin of one thought of the universe is too useful for him. In Dian Immortal, there are not many who can touch the threshold of the origin of the space, and he can't do it if he wants to swallow it. Only when the Emperor of the Great Desolation fell, he swallowed a lot of the origin of the space, and allowed his universe to reach a range of tens of thousands of miles. Chapter 5245. Now, although his strength has broken through one after another, the scope of the universe has not expanded because of the stagnant origin of his space. He could feel that if he swallowed that square crystal, his thought universe would be able to break through. But 500,000 treasure points are not a small number. At least for the first 9 waves, he could barely make up enough with every effort. In the next few waves, he will not be able to kill all of them, but fortunately, he has the position of coach, which can increase by 50%. It's not difficult to reach 500,000 treasure points. I was afraid that this square crystal would be exchanged in advance. This old guy didn't tell me earlier. He had known that he would not exchange these things, so he would make up the 500,000 most precious points first. Jian Wushuang finally walked out of the palace with a black face. Although the contact didn't last long, he could also see that the old man probably recommended the square crystal to others, and now he has become more competitive. At least the Taoist-level powerhouses of the other 3 city walls are likely to compete with him. Universe Rubik's Cube. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth. Qiu Huang told him that this square crystal was cut out of a space and universe, and it was the size of a small world. The name is also very exaggerated, called the Cosmos Rubik's Cube. After leaving the palace, there is still a lot of time. He is not in a hurry to use those treasures now. Anyway, they are all treasures that are quickly upgraded, and in the end there is no need to worry. He went to the other 3 halls one by one. After walking around, Jian Wushuang scolded Qiu Huang in his heart. The other 3 halls are the halls of exchange pill, treasure, and inheritance. The inheritance hall still needs it. Those inheritance Jian Wushuang have known for a long time that they didn't intend to exchange it. Although there are also many treasures in the alchemy hall that he needs, but the promotion is limited, similar to the exchange in the treasure hall. He also didn't think much. But in the palace of the supreme treasures, there was a treasure that made him unable to observe. In the identity token, only the name can be seen, and the power of the treasure cannot be seen at all. Now, after seeing it with his own eyes, he discovered that a special secret treasure was actually an accessory for the eye of the beast god. The old man in charge of the treasure exchange also told him that this was one of the beast weapons. It was a treasure of wings, with a pair of silver scarlet wings lifelike. The breath exuding from above is the same as the eye of the beast god. This reminded him of Tao's sovereign tier heaven. This man also had a treasure similar to the breath of his beast god's eye. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. The other party must also know this winged treasure. Beast god soldier. Jian Wushuang said silently in his heart. There were a total of 9 pieces of this treasure in ancient times, and 6 of them were in the hands of the strong on top of the universe. The other 3 are in the hands of the emperor, who has taken the 6th step. The 6th step, the emperor? That is, the 6th order emperor of the original universe. Although the names are different, they have roughly the same meaning. Jian Wushuang just thinks about it and feels outrageous. The most precious treasure used by the 6th order emperor, and it is not an ordinary 6th order emperor. That is the direct disciple of Qishan, the 6th order emperor of the ultimate way. The powerhouses on the top of the universe are very eager to get beast warriors. There are a lot of other treasures, but the beast warrior only has 9 in the entire starry sky. Because in ancient times 9 great beast gods were born, and all of them were killed by the gods, and finally 9 great beast gods were refined. According to the old man of the Supreme Treasure Hall, his beast god's eyes are the eyes of one of the 9 beast gods, Candle Dragon. The pair of supreme wings were also the wings of the Candle Dragon. Although incomplete, the power of the eye of a beast made the 3rd order emperor crazy. If he gets the pair of wings again, the combination of the 2 will probably surpass the limit of the innate treasure. It is completely comparable to the imitation of the eternal treasure, 8 Fang Yunlong seal. This beast soldier is called Candle Dragon. It was also named after the beast Candle Dragon. The strong man who used this treasure back then was a super strong man who made the universe tremble. When it finally fell, the Candle Dragon was also divided into several pieces and left in various places in the starry sky. This was also Jian Wushuang's good luck. First he got the eye of the beast from the Emperor Malong, and now he encountered the wings of the beast god, and the one in the hands of the tearing sky. According to his guess, it should be the claw of the candle dragon. Torn the sky. He is a strong man with claws together. The claws of the candle dragon. 8 achievements are in his hands. Now Jian Wushuang has secretly decided. The first goal is to exchange candle dragon wings, and the second goal is to win the tearing sky. There is no way to deal with him now. There are plenty of opportunities later. If it hadn't been for tearing the sky to stare at him with a longing look, he really hadn't paid attention. The candle dragon's wings are 800,000 treasures, but its power only improves part of the space origin, and also has a very large speed increase, and its defensive power is also outrageous. There are probably not many people who can keep an eye on this treasure. There are so many treasures, it is better to exchange for the complete 8 Fong Yunlong seal. That treasure is much stronger than the candle dragon wings. All aspects are crushed. However, Jian Wushuang has the eyes of the candle dragon. After the combination of the two, it is much stronger than the Bafong Yunlong seal. After a sigh of relief, after adjusting his mentality, Jian Wushuang walked out. The city lord's mansion. When he returned to the city wall again, he would look at Dao Shou Tian from time to time. Dao Shou Tian, who had already distanced himself from Jian Wushuang, felt a chill in his heart. He has also been to the palace of the supreme treasures, and the matter of the beast god soldier has long been known. And now that Jian Wushuang has been staring at him, he must have been to the palace of the supremes too. After all, I still can't hide, but I won't give up. The Taoist tier heaven decided secretly. He was more calm than Jian Wushuang, strolling around the 4 great halls without redeeming anything. Just glance at the treasures he needed. Feeling the pair of candle dragon wings accidentally made him overjoyed. But then thinking of the breath on Jian Wushuang's body, he was silent again. Ranked 4th, he only got 20,000 supreme points, which was far from 800,000. Jian Wushuang already had more than 100,000 supreme points. Want to compete for difficult? But the temptation of that treasure to him was stronger than Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang is today because of the powerhouses of the extreme Dao and the ultimate Dao. The eye of the beast god is nothing but a foreign object. Compared with these, it is the right way to be strong. The Taoist tier heaven is different. If he doesn't have the treasure in his body, he is nothing but an ordinary peak de yen. The origin Dao is still very weak, and it can't be ranked in the 2nd grade origin. Therefore his desire for beast soldiers is even greater. The birth of the Temple of Qishan made it possible to understand that he Dao is no longer a dream, and may become a reality. Now that he entered the Temple of Qishan, after a fight, he found his shortcomings. https:// 1 second to remember Aceheng Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5246. He also knows his mind and strength. If he wants to obtain the top inheritance in the Temple of Qishan, and if he wants to succeed in harmony, he must become stronger, so that the Temple of the Qishan can see his potential. Now there is one in front of him, which has obtained the remaining accessories of the beasts. Now he exploded with all his strength, and he was still at the top of the Taoist monarchs. But in the future, compared with those half-step emperors, he is much worse. He needs to be stronger. The road to harmony is right in front of him, and he has no reason to give up. Is it because his opponent is stronger than him, so he gives up? That was ridiculous. Even though he was shameless, he was not top in the same rank before. But since he got the secret treasure, he has a seed of the strong in his heart. He wants to see more than anyone else that seed blossoms and bears fruit. Not to mention the half-step emperor. Even if Jian Wushuang is the emperor, he has to bite the bullet and fight for it. Moreover, Jian Wushuang felt he hadn't reached that point now, half a step where the emperor was suspended. Although those areas were powerful, he could also see that Jian Wushuang should be the ultimate way, and the strength of his body would be so strong. The strength of the two should not be much different, and the subsequent competition may not necessarily lose. As for the treasure that Jian Wushuang stared at him, he sneered. Even if it is impossible to compete, Candle Dragon wings. He will not give away his treasure. At least the current rules are forbidden to kill each other. He is not afraid of Jian Wushuang at all. Even if there is another fight in the future, he still hopes to survive in Jian Wushuang's hands. Can't beat, can't hide? The secret treasure is his life. With it, he has today. He is used to being looked up to. Look up to others again? Might as well let him die. Jian Wushuang glanced through, saw the determination to tear the sky, couldn't help but sneered. Then give it a try. 800,000 treasure points. He has 90% hope of getting it in advance. And he has the position of coach, so tearing the sky can't compete with him. No one else can compete with him except Wanxing. The Tao of Huiking's major also runs counter to the beasts and gods, and should not be exchanged. His most powerful opponent is not tearing the sky but Wanxing. Xue Yue and Lengshuang Daojun are equal in strength, and can't compare to him at all. He didn't know much about Wanxing, and he was really afraid that Wanxing would exchange for that treasure. One day passed quickly, and the 4 major city walls, except for the eastern city wall, where Jian Wushuang was located, the Dian Immortal on the other city walls, had increased a lot of strength. East City Coach Jian Wushuang. Commander, tearing the sky Nantung Gu Chao. General Moron. 16 positions were announced soon. People who thought they had no record except Jian Wushuang, but also thought of getting a position by luck, were discouraged. It seems not as naive as they thought. Everything still speaks for strength. This also let those powerful Daangxians breathe a sigh of relief. As a powerful Taoist ruler, tearing the sky was ruled, and naturally no one was unconvinced. However, of the 5.5 trail monarchs here, 4 are commanders, and 1 is unluckily assigned to the position of general. This makes him extremely hate Jian Wushuang, but he dare not show it. His method is very beneficial to the weak, at least a bit stronger than the half-walking monarchs. And now he is squeezed out of the commanding position. Hate it. Someone hates it, others like it. I think this distribution is simply too fair. You have to thank Master Jian Wushuang. Otherwise the position of commander will be taken up by some Xiao Xiao. The speaker was burly, and he hugged Jian Wushuang with his fists, his voice deliberately raised. One is for the disgusting half-walking monarch who was squeezed out of command, and the other is to please Jian Wushuang by the way. Strong strength will naturally be respected by others. At the same time, Mo Long was also very pleased. With the treasure suit, he is also the ultimate fairy. In addition to Jian Wushuang and Tier Heaven, the battle power on the city wall now has 5.5 trails, and more than 30 limit Dian Immortals. Among more than 30 people, Mo Long's strength is still not in the top 10. But his foundation is very strong, and all strengths are divided according to the foundation. Mo Long's physical body is consummated. This is not something that Dao Jun can do casually. Either there are not so many treasures to pile the physical body, or there is not so much energy to practice. After all, the physical body is no more than the mortal body, and many strong people are more about improving the divine body. The flesh does not practice much. Mo Long didn't think the flies were too small, but he improved them one by one. If the physical body is raised to the point of immortality, then it's another matter. Just like Mo Long, he was almost immortal in the same rank. The physical body is eternal and immortal, and it is also regarded as basic strength. If you count his once treasures, his strength is comparable to that of the half-travel monarch. After the positions were assigned, the city lord's mansion issued a golden arrow to the sky. The darkness was turbulent. Countless powerful devouring demon lords were already unable to hold back. Their hideous fangs lowered their lower lip. Their eyes were red, and blood suddenly appeared. They were suppressed in the primordial star for a few years, but now they were released again, staring at the practitioner again. The breath made them crazy and fascinated. Jian Wushuang, who was sitting firmly on the head of the city, looked at the turbulent darkness with the same eyes. His breath is very similar to those demon kings, but the color is pitch black, swallow. The earth began to tremble at this moment. The buzzing of horns sounded, and a big burst was triggered. Kill. At this moment, regardless of whether there is a position or a weak person, it explodes at this moment. The turmoil in the dark, the madness that swallowed the devil, the desperateness of the practitioner. The scenes of this scene seem to have happened in ancient times. 199 revolutions swallowed the devil perfectly, shaking his head and rushing out of the darkness. This momentum can shake the world and is far from comparable to that of 10,009 ranks. The gap between rank 9 and consummation cannot be offset by 100 times the number. According to the rules, the devouring demon lord who is comparable to rank 9 Dian Immortal is 1 star. And now those who are comparable to rank 9 are 2 stars. The classification of grades is similar to that of Diancian. 9 turn 1 star, perfect 2 star, top 3 star, pinnacle 4 star, extreme 5 star, Taoist 6 star, half-step emperor 7 star, comparable to emperor 8 star. Although these devouring demon lords are not as powerful as practitioners of the same level, their strength is genuine, and what they lack is the use of supreme treasures, or the peculiar knowledge of cultivation. This collision was extremely intense. The forbearance of the first 3 waves was all played out during the attack of the devouring demon lord. Even part of rank 9 Dian Immortals struggled to fight, and 3 or 5 people besieged a 2-star demon king, and the world collapsed and the earth cracked. 2-star devouring demon lord is just comparable to 9-ranking demon lord. Among 100,000 Dian Immortals, now as long as Nineth range consummation has the power of top-level Dian Immortal, you can slaughter those 2-star devouring demon lord at will. When the numbers of the 2 parties are similar, the difference in quality is irreparable. Among the 100,000 Dian Immortals, there are close to 90,000 top Dian Immortals. Chapter 5247. The individual combat power of the devouring demon lord is the same, and the practitioners here have extremely strong combat power, and there are many that can be comparable to the 6-star devouring demon lord. Even Mo Long could destroy hundreds of 2 stars and devour the devil by himself. The claw law of tearing the sky is even crazier, the huge blood claw tearing the sky. Thousands of devouring demons' formations were instantly torn apart, turned into powder and completely wiped out. In just one breath, 100,000 2 stars swallowed the devil, and 10,000 fell. And Jian Wushuang just pulled out the long sword behind him. The sword light is fierce, and a sword is a world descending, and under the fusion of heart strength and sword intent, an unrivaled aura erupts. Ouch! A sword light swept across the battlefield. This ray of sword light rushed into the formation of devouring demon arrogantly, disturbing everything, and the fierce sword intent destroyed the body of devouring demon. Boom! People are not yet in shape. Sword intent is full of sky. When many practitioners saw Jian Wushuang enter the arena, they became even more crazy. They were really afraid that Jian Wushuang would be ruthless and kill them all again, leaving them nothing. Quick! Get started quickly! Some 9th-ranked Dian Immortal teams couldn't help roaring. They resisted the 4th wave of offense at most, and the 5th wave was the 1,000,000 2 stars devouring demon lord. And it would be difficult for them to think so easily at that time. Either the 4th wave is desperate and the 5th wave is retired. If they don't fight in the 4th wave, they will not be able to resist the 5th wave of attack. Million is more than 10 times the current pressure. Feeling the soaring sword intent, the dignified face of the prince to tear the heavens. 100,000 2 stars swallowed the demon lord, but only took 3 breaths and all fell. The mutilated devouring demon lord fell from the sky one after another, but before it fell to the ground, it turned into strands of black smoke, hovering in the sky, and was eventually absorbed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang put away the long sword, slowly closed his eyes, opened his hands, and enjoyed the feast to the fullest. These devourers wanted to devour them, while Jian Wushuang wanted to devour each other. Jie. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, looked into the darkness, staring into the dark fog. The evil aura in his eyes became more intense. Since he started to devour these demon kings, he found that the ability to devour them has become stronger, and the demand has also increased, but other aspects have not improved. Especially Jidao did not rise at all. This is the purest avenue of devouring. Jian Wushuang put aside his aura. He realized at this time that the two sides are fundamentally different. His extreme way encompasses all things, and the origin of swallowing the devil's body is the purest swallowing. The difference between the two is very large. The so-called Tao begets one, 2 lives, 2 lives 3, and 3 lives all things. The extreme way encompasses all things. This is the purest way, and the other ways are nothing more than trails derived from them. All things are the origin of the Tao. Call. Returning to the city, Jian Wushuang began to comprehend Ji Dao. Everything. Jian Wushuang frowned, his face leaking doubts. If all things are the purest and include so many Taoisms, what shall we do in the future? This is a huge problem. In the ultimate kendo, he can still point to his heart, and the path of harmony may also have a rudimentary shape, but he has no clue at all. Now if you have a little eyebrow, you will be more enlightened and don't miss any chance. Especially swallowing. If everything depends on him to enlighten, he will not be able to enlighten to consummation if the universe is destroyed. Only by constantly devouring other practitioners can he quickly ascend. This time swallowing these demon kings, his receipt is very large. At least his understanding of everything is more than just paper. He could feel Tao because of the devouring of these demon kings. If he swallowed those Dian immortals again, a complete Tao, he could consume 30%. It's a bit stronger than before, which is a big gain. It's a pity that Dian Xian didn't give him an experiment, and now he can't do anything with other people. After the 5th wave of siege, Jian Wushuang still rushed to the forefront, and now his demand for the most precious points is really a bit big. Fortunately, the strength of Yin universe kept his record in the first place. When this stage is settled, there will be a lot of ranking rewards. Naturally, he can't let it go. Last time I suffered a big loss. Hui Qing ranked first, but she won 100,000 points. In the second stage of the trial, the treasures and the most precious points were increased several times. Especially the exchange within the city lord's mansion was opened, which was much fiercer than the first stage of the battle. Although there are not many casualties yet, the more this cycle progresses, the more people can't stop. In the 5th wave, the 1,000,000 2-stars devouring demon lord attacked. The 9th-ranked Dian immortals who were going to retire originally, after obtaining the Arcana point, immediately exchanged for a set of Supreme Arcana armor and some enhanced Arcana, ready to fight again. There are even some people who broke through in the battle, and they had just reached the 9th round of consummation, and they had top-level combat power, and they were even more frantic when fighting. After the 5th wave, the overall strength has once again improved a lot. Jian Wushuang saw the meaning of training soldiers with his more and more courageous posture. More than 10,000 ranked 9 Dian immortal. Now half of them fell, but the remaining half didn't mean to stop in the slightest. The last wave, the 6th wave, is over. If I can get enough of the treasures of the Bay Flower, I will be able to break through. A 9th-ranked Dian immortal, his eyes full of war. Retire if there is no breakthrough, and continue to fight if there is a breakthrough. Use war to support war, until death. Said to be retired. Now only a few ranked 9 Dian immortals, who have no hope of breaking through, have chosen to retire. And the rest, as long as they have a little hope of breaking through, or are stronger in strength, have chosen to continue fighting. In the 9th-ranked Dian immortal, there are indeed some people who have broken through the final Jihao through the tempering of life and death, and become the 9th-rank perfection. Exchange for a set of peak Arcana set, and instantly have the top Dian immortal combat power. Among the 9 ranks consummation Dian immortal, the weakest is the rank 9 top level, who can kill the 2 stars at will to devour the devil. In the first 6 waves of battles, there was no threat, and even among them, there were examples of breakthroughs in the origin and becoming the peak powerhouse. At this time, everyone was most concerned about rather than the top combat power. They all began to stare at those top Dian immortals, or rank 9 Dian immortals. It is even more exciting to see them break through and become stronger. At least this is true. Looking up at Jian Wushuang and others, after all, is unrealistic. They spent 10 breaths in the 5th wave of battle, And now the sixth wave begins. Jian Wushuang could have a foreboding that if the ninth-ranked Dian Immortal wasn't able to break through in the battle, then only death would be. Thousands of 2 stars devoured the devil. Mo Long's peak strength had only dared to resist this wave. But those ninth-ranked Dian Immortals were desperate struggles. This is the 10,000 devouring demon lord. Each one is much stronger than them. They can only win by the number of people. But now the number of opponents is 100 times theirs. The exact calculation is 10,000 times. https:// 1 second to remember Aceheng Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5248. Now there are only a few thousand ranked 9 Dian Immortals, and 1,000 2-star devouring demon lord. They can still bear it. But tens of millions of 2 stars devour the devil. How much can other strong people share for them? When 1 million swallowed the devil, the 9th-ranked Dian Immortal lost half. And this time I am afraid it will be extinct. It's a pity. Jian Wushuang sighed in a low voice. When the horn sounded again, his figure moved into the air outside the city. In the third wave, the devouring demon lord with 1/10 of a star is 100,000 treasure point. Now the sixth wave is the 1 million treasure point. Although it can't be monopolized, half of it can still be won. Now he has accumulated almost 100,000 again. If he can take half this time, including the bonus of the coach, he can almost exchange for candle dragon wings. This treasure has helped him too much. Let's not talk about the increase in speed and defense. The increase in the beast god domain alone can make him stronger. By then, I am afraid that he will really have the power of a half-step emperor. Up. The increase in the divine body, coupled with the powerful defensive power of the candle dragon's wings, is really going to fight the tens of thousands of stars. He is also sure to fight. At that time, this primordial star, he can really walk sideways. At this moment, Jian Wushuang even had an evil idea. Swallowing all the primordial star Dian Immortal, he could take another step. This idea just came out of my mind, and it was quickly rejected by him. Not to mention the feasibility of this method, let's talk about the trial of the original star. It is estimated that it will be difficult to fight around like the first stage. Now that the Temple of Qixin has opened its treasure trove, so many treasures have been invested in it. How can it be possible to make them like they used to be? It will not let him go and mess around. Jian Wushuang has always believed that there are still some strong men who have survived from ancient times in this Temple of Qixin. Otherwise the internal world will not function in such an orderly manner. There are too many hidden secrets, and I'm afraid they will be able to understand the real Temple of Qixin after the original star. The horn hummed, echoing in everyone's ears. The sixth wave devours the devil. This is a hurdle, the hurdle of rank 9 Dian Immortal, and also the threshold of some top Dian Immortals. Because after this hurdle, the life of the top Dian Immortal will not be too easy. Even the next few waves of the peak Dian Immortal will be difficult to sustain. At the beginning of the seventh wave, it was Samsung Devouring Demon Lord, the Devouring Demon Lord with top Dian Immortal combat power. At the beginning, it was also 100,000, until the next tens of millions. What kind of concept the tens of millions of top Dian Immortals are, the powerful Dao Sovereign may fall. But at that time was also the craziest time to earn the most precious points. Thousands of treasures. Any imitation of eternal treasures is not just exchangeable. Those treasures that are cherished can be exchanged. Can redeem half of the treasures in the treasure house. The physical body is immortal. The divine body is increased. And there are too many treasures from the source. And it is possible to reach the sky in one step. What a temptation this is. How can it not make people crazy? Thousands of devouring the Demon King, each towering in 10,000 battles, overwhelming the sky, covering the sky and obscuring the sun. The evil aura disturbed everyone's breath. Jian Wushuang stands tall in the void, and people are like sword shadows standing in this world. Looking back, 100,000 cultivators, no matter weak or strong, their faces were very solemn. Although 10 million, the luster in their eyes made Jian Wushuang understand what it meant to be unrepentant. Fight with war and never regret until death. Kill. I don't know who murmured, and slowly everyone shouted. In the end everyone roared even more. Kill. The soaring killing intent was no weaker than 10,000 devouring demon lord. Lian Jian Wushuang yelled out. And the killing intent at this moment infected everyone. Boom. 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 Jian Wushuang rode as 1,000, and pulled out the divine sword behind him, breaking through 10,000 enemies with one sword, and rushing into the tens of millions of devouring demon kings. In addition to him, there is also the tearing sky, and those half-walking monarchs, extreme Dian-immortals, have also rushed into the devouring demons' army. 100,000 Dian-immortals lined up, and ran into the devouring demon army, in the form of a large formation. Life and death had already been put aside, and now they only had craziness in their eyes. Chi-chi. At the moment the two sides fought, countless devouring demon lords died, turning into pitch-black mist and floating between the heaven and the earth. In the early stage, everyone had plucked up their courage, but when they really collided, they didn't lose much, but they gradually couldn't stand it in the face of the continuous devouring demon lord. This is the 2-star devouring demon, that is comparable to the 9th ranking consummation, and it is much stronger than the 1-star devouring demon. Dian-immortals' front line soon began to collapse. The first thing that couldn't stand it was the rank 6 to 9 Dian-immortal. Although they formed a battle formation, it was a pity that Yinli was running wildly and consumed too much, and couldn't bear it at all. Eventually the big formation collapsed, and was swallowed by tens of thousands of 2 stars into the big formation. At rank 6009, Dian-immortal confronted tens of thousands of 2-star devouring demon lord. Just a facet claws were drawn down, and more than half of it fell instantly. Many Dian-immortals who were weaker than their divine bodies and flesh bodies were directly torn apart by a single claw, and their corpses split. Devouring demon lord even unscrupulously grabbed those broken corpses. You reading www.akanshu.com bite. You guys it. A golden armored power also used his claws, and his body flashed to close a gap. But unlike those devouring demon lords, his sharp claws turned into golden dragons. Majestic and majestic, one person smashed thousands of demons, and the tens of thousands of 2-star devouring demon lords killed by oneself were defeated. It's a pity that it was a little too late, just a few breaths, and this group of devouring demon lords killed the 9-ranked Dian-immortals cleanly, and no one survived. Kill me. Even the corpse capital is not let go. This is the Ni Lin that has touched Dian-immortal. In a short moment, tens of thousands of devouring demon lord was torn to pieces by the golden armor power. And he was injured very seriously. On Mo Long's golden armor, there was black blood all over his body, his hair was messy, and his face was stained with blood. Although he looked down on the weak Dian-immortal, he felt that these people were working as cars on the man's arm. But when those devouring demon lords were tearing up their kind and devouring them with big mouths, he couldn't help but rushed over. In the first 2 waves, he also killed a lot of devouring demon lords, plus the bonus of having a general position, and obtained a lot of treasure points. After redeeming a set of innate treasures, he is also considered to be back to the top. Plus strong, he is no weaker than those half-legged monarchs. You guys, why bother? Looking at the mutilated body, Mo Long had pity in his eyes. It's just that on this battlefield countless fights are being staged. The top Dian-immortal is also falling, and the peak Dian-immortal's body is damaged, the divine body collapses, and the origin is almost extinguished. Those who can really fight on the battlefield of Zhongheng are still those extreme Dian-immortals and half-trail monarchs. But Jian Wushuang and Dao Shou Tian, like 2 suns, shining in the deepest place that swallowed the devil tens of thousands. These 2-star devouring demon lords can't hurt Jian Wushuang at all. Even if millions of devouring demon lords now beside him, they are still as steady as ever. Chapter 5249. Xinghe Lake Sea Sword Intent. Jian Wushuang shouted coldly. A magnificent sword intent burst out along the tip of the sword. A river of sharp sword energy rolled on the battlefield, and it was annoying that everyone who encountered it was torn apart, and even the origin of the swallowing body in the body was absorbed by Jian Wushuang. Not enough. The killing wasn't fast enough. In the huge heart sword world, the sword intent wasn't enough, and it wasn't pure enough. Ouch! A dragon howl soaring to the sky sounded, and a huge candle dragon phantom rushed out of the ground under Jian Wushuang's feet. Beast God Realm, Jian Wushuang, whose divine body has soared to 7,000 or 8,000 times, has a body size of thousands of miles, and can already be comparable to Fa Tianxiang and Earth. Candle Dragon, innate life in the largest river area in the starry sky. He is stronger than a special life. He is born with a universe origin, and he is born to be the strongest. The phantom roamed around Jian Wushuang. A pair of huge wings cover the sky and the sun, and sharp claws can cut through the space. This is the true origin of space, the darling of the entire space. Let him roam. The scarlet light on Jian Wushuang's eyebrows flickered, looking at the candle dragon phantom, with a look of yearning. Born to be the emperor. The huge space contained millions of devouring demon lords. Jian Wushuang held the sword in both hands and slashed out with one sword. The huge sword light scattered hundreds of millions of times, filling the entire space. The strongest sword. In other words, it is the strongest sword intent today. The most perfect swordsmanship for group killing. Those who have used swords from ancient times to the present can only go down in the annals of history if they have this sword. Wow! In the air wave that Jingguang turned into, there were hundreds of millions of sword intents mingled, killing all the devouring demon kings. One sword million. 1,000,002 stars swallowed the devil, and was beheaded by a sword. Now that the entire battlefield has fallen to less than 2 million, he himself has killed half of it. When the rest of the people saw this sword, they also held their breath, especially those top Dian immortals. They could kill one devouring demon with one blow at most, but Jian Wushuang killed 1,000,000 by one person. The corpse of 1,000,000 devouring demon fell into the sky. How spectacular it was. Tearing Heaven also noticed the movement of Jian Wushuang in the army on the other end, with a wry smile in his eyes. Although he was unwilling, he also had to admit that Jian Wushuang was much better than him. Not only in the field. The divine body and origin are much stronger than him. Especially the strong growth. At least 100 times stronger than him. This gap is too big. If it is transformed into combat power, he and Jian Wushuang will fight for a day. Maybe Jian Wushuang's breathing will not be disturbed. Even if he has been taking drugs, he will not be able to keep up with Jian Wushuang's rhythm. Jian Wushuang's blow, destroying 1,000,000 and devouring the devil. His expression remained unchanged, and he even wanted to come back a few more times. If it were other powerful Taoists, I am afraid it would have been unable to withstand it. Come again. Arcana points rushed into his identity token. 1,000,002 stars swallowed the devil, with a reward of 100,000 arcana points, plus the position bonus of the coach. It was 150,000 arcana points. Being strong means being able to do whatever you want. Nowadays, those who can rank first on all primitive stars are practitioners of the ultimate way. This is the ultimate charm. Maybe everyone is a half-step emperor, but the practitioners of the ultimate path are stronger than the practitioners of other origin paths. Especially when facing this kind of trial, the practitioners of the ultimate path are too advantageous, and they have a reserve of power. It is dozens of times stronger than other practitioners. Other Taoists may be exhausted if they kill 2 million, but the ultimate way can kill 20 million, and there is still room for it. Especially Jian Wushuang. The origin of Ji Dao surpasses the ultimate Dao, let alone 20 million. Even if it is hundreds of millions, he can slowly consume these devouring demon lords. With the first sword, there is the second sword. The same moves, the same devouring demon lord. Wow! It was the fall of the 1,000,000 devouring demon king. This scene not only stunned the Dian immortal on the field, but also felt incredible on other primordial stars who had been observing the rankings. In Jiajia's original star ranking, Jian Wushuang's treasure point increased by 150,000 every time it changed. The interval between the front and back does not exceed 5 breaths. What is this concept? The top Dayan immortals who were seriously injured and invincible stood on the wall, looking at Jian Wushuang's figure with envy. 1,000,000 sword swallows the devil, 150,000 treasure points. The former is strength, and the latter is opportunity. Both of them are satisfied as long as they are the same. This is the stunner of the contemporary era. At this time, everyone put Jian Wushuang's position in the first place, surpassing Huiqing and Wanqing Tiandi, who had previously shown their brilliance. 1 star and 3 emperors. There were no half-step emperors in the original Jiajiu primitive star. Now there are 3 half-step emperors. In the future, they will be able to take what they have seen today as an experience if they go out of the Temple of Discord. Everyone is a witness to the growth of a day against the sky. Thousands of devouring the devil will finally be solved by the time of a cup of tea. 8 million of them were all beheaded by Jian Wushuang. Ranking: 1st, Jian Wushuang 2nd, Wanqing Tiandi 3rd, Demon Monk Huiqing 4th, Blood Moon Daoist 5th, Lengshuang Daojun 6th, Ji Chaoyang 7th, Seer the Heaven Daoist. What's interesting is that Ji Chaoyang is still 6th and Tirtian is ranked 7th. Ji Chaoyang and Huiqing separated on the northern city wall. According to Huiqing's indisputable temperament, Ji Chaoyang picked up a big deal. Dao Monarch Blood Moon is good at the field, so Dao Monarch Cold Frost naturally can't compete. When Tirtian saw this list, his face was dark. He killed 1,000,000 by himself, and only obtained more than 100,000 treasure points, plus the previous accumulation, no more than 300,000 treasure points. The fight for the Candle Dragon Wings was a complete failure. End it. After the 6th wave of offensive, there was also a day of preparation time, and many people sent to the city lord's mansion, ready to exchange treasures and strive for breakthroughs. Starting from the 7th wave is the real test. The 7th and 8th waves are okay, and the 9th wave tens of millions of 3 stars swallows the devil, even if the limit Dayan immortal is threatened with falling. By then it would be a tough battle for Jian Wushuang. Glancing at the record on the leaderboard, in addition to him, Wanqing has broken 1,000,000. They shouldn't be over yet. I have to go to the city lord's mansion first. Jian Wushuang's pupil shrank, and as soon as he entered the city, he teleported into the city lord's mansion. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, hundreds of people have been here cross-legged for a long time. Most of these people were retired from other city walls in the 5th wave, and some came down from the east city wall. Nowadays, seeing someone teleporting in, many people are looking over, wanting to ask about the outside world. When they saw that it was Jian Wushuang, they stopped again, and didn't dare to step forward. How can Jian Wushuang have time to take care of these people? Stepping forward, and entering the Supreme Treasure Hall again. Familiar scene, familiar old man. The white-haired old man has a pair of spiral-shaped corners, and his body is unusually strong, but the white beard and hair cover the angular muscles of the body. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.